to speak. Unless not reasonably practicable, members must attend the meeting in person. This is what the RSA says. Any meetings that we conduct, no matter how small, we must conduct them in whole or in part in compliance with RSA 91A. Any questions, ideas? Alan?
Consultation with Liz does not count as a meeting of our group.
I'd say no.
If it's one-on-one, no. We can't do it collectively.
So just to clarify then, there's no difference between a working group and a committee then?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And then my other question is just to clarify, then again, can you just reiterate again, email communication, like as far as the whole, reply, like we can't have more than 3 planning board members.
RSA
And be able
91A does
to-
not make a distinction concerning the number of people involved.
Okay.
But what it does say is that if you're conducting business which is substantive to the subject matter, that is, if you're having a meeting, your group meets about landscaping.
Mhm.
So if 2 people are talking to each other about landscaping and it's substantive, you should apply.
Okay.
But then, 2 people meet on a sidewalk and say, we were talking about, I
Yeah,
think,
don't talk about anything specific other than, hey, when is the meeting or what time is the meeting?
Okay.
Anything beyond that can be construed to be.
Okay.
The thing is,
look, you can take this to such an
that's
extreme.
from New Hampshire Municipal Association.
Yes.
And this is the flow chart of, is it a meeting? And it's pretty simple,
Okay,
so I thought it might be.
I think it is. It is. What we could do is just send everybody an email copy of this.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I guess everything goes through the chair. If we want to say something to a group or disseminate that, I wouldn't just send it out. I would send it to you and then you would send it out.
Sure, and I'd send it to Kristen. No, we're trying to make this right and do what the law says. It simply means that, we were under a, shall we say, a misconception
Mhm.
about, 3 people, that's not a quorum and that's not the meeting of the planning board. But RSA 91A says, no, that if you're meeting and you're talking about something which is substantive to the planning board's business, which is even if you're an advisory group giving information to the planning board, like what will happen later on today, let's say the working group, so that the whole group is not trying to chew away at a particular problem, that a group comes to the planning board and says, here are our recommendations. We've been talking amongst ourselves and this is what we think should happen. That those meetings need to be conducted in a public forum. In other words, you should meet probably here because that's accessible to the public.
Unless you want to have it at your house and then.
You can have it at your house and then anybody who
Info
wants to
wants to
attend,
come.
You
yeah.
have to
that's
notice it at least 24 hours ahead of time. So
Yes,
you
yeah.
can
We
notice
can
it to
post
your
it
house.
and we can post it on the website.
Well, by
Yeah,
noticing
sure.
it's website and post office.
Yeah, it has to be in 2 places and it has to be 24 hours before the meeting
least.
happened. At
With an
least,
agenda.
I agree. And then when there are, after the meeting, somebody has to take minutes and somebody has to say, this is what we talked about. And that this is what we will recommend. And that has to be accessible to the public.
Okay.
How are you gonna make that happen?
You meet here.
The meetings can be, we've been and the meetings just get posted on, the minutes get posted on the website.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that to me
yeah,
is an
yeah.
obvious
Maybe
means
have
by
a
which
week to
that
do
could
it.
be accomplished.
I
Yeah.
think you have a week, five working days.
Yep.
Okay.
All I'm trying to
The
do
draft.
here is make sure that,
Yes, draft minutes. They just have to be available.
Right, have to be available.
Yep.
Draft minutes
yes,
within 5 days.
that you want to make everybody aware that this law exists, that we must comply, because, somebody who's not happy could make,
Life miserable.
yeah. And you
Well,
would,
May I?
yes,
I can give you at least one practical example. A working group or a subcommittee of the select board is the municipal solid waste committee.
yes,
And there was a couple of years ago, they were not noticing their meetings and advertising, they were just meeting. And they would bring recommendations to the select board, and the select board would simply approve without much discussion the recommendations. And on at least 2 occasions, we had people come to town hall, to the select board, and say, where did this come from? We did not know that there was a discussion about this. You didn't discuss it at select board, you just voted it in. And so that kind of makes the point. People have to have the opportunity to attend. They don't have to talk. You're not required to allow people to participate. But they have every right to attend.
So the law
And to
is,
record it and to sit there.
yep. The law is aptly named, the right to know. And the whole concept behind it is if your government is making decisions that might affect you now or in the future, you have the right to know what they're doing and what they're talking about. And you have a right to attend. And until you can't, how are you going to attend if you don't know the meeting's going to happen? You know, where, time, place, so that if you want to make a presence, it doesn't mean that like I said, the law specifically says that the public can attend, but that doesn't give you the license to speak.
Mhm.
Unless the group wants to hear from you. As a public attending the meeting, yeah, you'll be right there, you'll hear everything that is said. But you don't have the right to interject yourself into the meeting.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
So the group that we're involved in with the landscaping,
mhm.
do we need to take minutes and record that? How does that?
Yeah,
Going
so you-
forward, we would.
you need to
I'll
take,
do minutes. So when I meet with people, I'll just do the minutes.
Okay,
All groups have to do minutes. You don't have to record. Recording is not a requirement.
Okay,
you don't have to do what we're doing today, like, that camera doesn't have to be running.
understood.
But you do have to be able to highlight, summarize,
Yep.
express what you talked about. And if you have a recommendation, to so delineate what your recommendation is, so that anybody who wants to know what happened during that meeting could read the minutes and understand what came out of it.
Mhm.
Well, for the minutes, what's important is, I think by state law, is the opening and closing, who attended. You gotta get who's there, any votes that were taken. You should get the votes down. I think those are required by state law, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have a full exegesis of the back and forth.
No, you don't have to have
debate on
a-
something. It could be a very short summary statement. We talked about this. You may want to bring in a point or two. And then we voted and here was the vote. And that should all be recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, should be in the minutes.
Any decisions, that's what a vote means, but any
Yeah.
decision. And that's what I mean by recommendation. That is, if you come to some conclusion. And you want to make a recommendation, because the working groups are not voting,
right.
you know.
We're
That's
voting when it comes here,
that's
we're
because the working group's not an elected body, it's that. But you want to be able to enunciate clearly what it is that took place if you made a decision or you're ready to make a recommendation.
Mhm.
So what came out of the discussion that you were having? Where did it go? And that will,
I'll forward an email that I sent to Bill, with the, just a simple form that the subcommittees. can
This is
use
true.
If I'm not there.
Liz devised a form that I think would help with this entire matter. In other words, time, place, who attended, what you discussed. Fill out the form and post it, it's done.
Bill?
Yes,
Can I have a point of clarity on documents? So if someone on a working group is drafting a document. And then you're sharing that with other members of the working group just for their review before you actually meet. Does this need to be in a shared drive open to the public? Is that okay to just share that with another member for them to review, and then when you meet, you record the meeting?
Yes.
That's
Yep.
okay?
Yes.
yeah, if you were to say
As
that
long as
we,
you're not discussing. the draft,
Right, it's just a matter-
Getting information, out. Yep.
Okay.
because what the working group does is devise, let's say you're gonna start with a draft of what it is that could be, could evolve into a proposal for a new ordinance. That's brought to the planning board discusses it, planning board will vote on it. And then it becomes public.
Right.
But what
Okay.
you're working on as a recommendation, you should say in the minutes that we came to these conclusions and we're going to recommend, but then it's up to the planning board to decide whether it accepts or rejects. So you don't have to post that publicly.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
could I recommend that that this be put into the planning board's procedure manual? The proper process for subcommittee.
yes, you
committee
may.
meetings. And it could refer to just the right to know law with a few sentences, what it means about noticing times, what's required in minutes.
Good. I would put that into the rules and procedures of the planning board. That sound okay to you, Liz?
Mhm.
Ed, you get a nod of approval? Good. I'll always ask the town manager whether he likes this idea or not. I'm happy to see Jim here. Code enforcement officer. Okay, is any more discussion about this? Okay. Next, Zoom meeting participation, planning board rules and procedures. So I am raising this again because the planning board rules and procedures, section 4, paragraph D says, with regard to remote attendance, it is expected that board members participate in person. It goes on to say that if a board member is physically unable to attend, a member may on occasion participate virtually via an electronic facility that the town is using, and that the minutes must reflect the nature of their absence and the reason for their virtual attendance. Section 4, paragraph E, seating of alternates. If a regular planning board member is absent from any meeting or hearing or disqualifies himself from sitting on a particular case, the chair shall designate one of the alternate members to sit in place of the absent or disqualified member, and such alternate shall be in all respects a full member of the board while so seated. The New Hampshire Municipal Association advises that public bodies may allow a member to participate remotely if attendance is not reasonably practicable. However, it does not say that they shall or that they must be able to attend remotely. The association goes on to say a public body is always free to choose not to allow remote participation by board members. The Waterville Valley Planning Board rules and procedures require attendance in person to the extent reasonably practicable. Reasonably practicable is not defined in statute and is left to the public body, such as this planning board, to interpret it as it sees fit. So I am proposing that the planning board adhere to the required to attend in person rule. When a member cannot attend for whatever reason, the rule is an alternate is seated to replace the absent member. After all, that is the reason for having alternate members. And that the alternates need the experience of being at the table as voting members. Remote participation is cumbersome and it's disruptive. It interrupts the procedure and the flow of the meeting and does not connect with the atmosphere in the meeting room. So I am proposing that when a member does not attend for discretionary reasons, such as vacation travel or travel to see family, or other such discretionary reasons, an alternate be seated to replace the absent member. The absent member may follow the meeting procedures on YouTube. I am proposing that the planning board rules and procedures be amended to limit member Zoom participation to extenuating or emergency situations. Otherwise, an alternate is seated to replace the absent member. And it should be noted that the select board rule is absent members do not participate remotely. I am also proposing that the rules and procedures be amended to say that there will be no public Zoom participation except when a person who is required or requested to participate by the planning board, or when it is a significant reason that this person who is requested to be at the meeting could not be present in person. Otherwise, anybody who is coming from the public has to be here in person. may I have your support in proceeding with these amendments?
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes,
question.
you do.
I thought we already voted on that.
You did. However, I started reading.
Confused. Help me.
Well, all I'm saying is that I'm raising the question again because I read the rules and procedures
Yeah.
that are already in the book. And I read what the New Hampshire Municipal Association has to say about it.
Mhm.
And I read what the select board has to say about it. All leaning in the direction that these meetings are intended to be in person. And that, yes, there is remote possibility. But that it should be for extenuating circumstances, not for discretionary reasons. In other words, you're off somewhere and, these meetings should be conducted in person. And the reason that we have alternates is to take the place of members who cannot be present. And when you agree to be a member, you are agreeing to attend 12 meetings. Maybe some additional meetings as well. Okay, look, we're all human and we all have reasons why we can't attend all the meetings. But the intent is to say, and it says so very clearly, that it's intended that these meetings be held in person. And if you can't make it, okay, you can't make it. But we have alternates for that reason. I don't know, for what reason do we have alternates? It's very
No.
simple.
I get that part, but what I'd like to see, if someone can't make it because they're off somewhere, vacation or whatever, can they still zoom in to be part of or listen to the meeting?
Listen to, yes.
Listening to, so you could.
Well, you'll listen to on YouTube.
Not Zoom.
I'm suggesting, and I'm saying that from other sources, not just me.
Yeah.
No, I happen to be very much in favor of this.
Yeah.
But just me, other sources are very much in favor of doing these meetings, these public groups that vote to do so in person. To be able to vote on YouTube, in my opinion, is
I don't agree with that
Dysfunctional.
either, right, I don't agree with that either. But if you're available to listen, you would rather see it done on YouTube rather than Zoom in.
yes. Zoom is, it's been my experience, and the other sources that I consulted also agree that it is interruptive and it's disruptive. You know, we got to stop what we're doing in the meeting room in order to focus over there.
Sure, so the vote that we made on, we discussed this last time, are we nixing that or?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Do we
proposing.
need to vote on that vote? To nix it?
In my,
Just vote again.
I would recommend that you vote again. If you took a vote the last time and
Yeah.
you're changing a decision, then.
okay,
I like
Discuss
that.
it amongst the members, yeah.
that's fine with me,
Yeah,
but what I want to
that way it would
do,
be clear, everyone understands it.
perfectly okay.
Okay.
What does select
So,
board have to say about
Well,
that?
the select board is in favor of the chair's proposal. The expectation of the select board always has been that if you want to be a member of the planning board and let the select board know that, and that the select board selects you for that position, that you are committing to attending all the meetings in person. Full stop. If you can't make that commitment, then you ought not to be on the planning board. Now, of course, their life intrudes on that particular plan. And there are times when something comes up that you're not able to attend, but the expectation is that you will make an effort to attend every meeting. If you can't, then we have alternates who can sit in for that purpose, for discussion and voting. It's up to you to decide whether you want to be there for a particular vote. And we find remote participation by members, even select board members, when we tried to do it in the past, to be very disruptive. Because you can't get the sort of dynamic going and discussion going that you have here, and the person that's viewing remote really isn't, it ends up unintentionally intruding because they can't really see what's going on and the body language and the interaction that's happening. So if you want to listen, the town has a YouTube channel that you can simply go to and listen to the meeting while you're away.
Any other comments? Margaret?
Yeah, I'll just make one. The rules that you have described do not take into account that life has changed for a lot of people. If you want to have people who are willing to participate in committees and that kind of thing, I tell you, you can say I commit to 12 meetings, but there's no way that everybody is gonna make every single meeting.
Understood.
With respect to disruption, because people are zooming in, that is primarily if you've held meetings, the person gets to raise their hand and whoever is running the meeting recognizes that person and gives them the opportunity to make their say. So I just think that we're being a little bit too narrow in our perspective. And we could have people no longer volunteering we have enough trouble now getting people to participate. If you make it more restrictive, we're gonna have even more trouble getting people to participate. Just a thought.
I hear it. Yes, Mark, I'm sorry, Anna?
No, you're fine, Mr. Chair. Related to participation, something Margaret touched on, I did want to note that whichever way the members decide to go with this, I think there could be benefit to having a more set schedule on timing of the meeting. Because I think that also sways when everyone's trying to juggle life and everything going on. Is it gonna be a 2-hour meeting day, a 4-hour meeting day, a 5-hour meeting day, so maybe there's times where if you're saying, oh, well, it's gonna go till noon and I've got this conflict because you're planning worst case, but then it finishes at 10, that person might have been able to be here in person because there was a distinct end time. Just gonna note that sometimes it does make it more helpful to say like, this is the time the meeting's occurring, and that way people can plan more accordingly to attend in person.
Okay, that's a good suggestion, and although I've said so, I'm attempting to make planning board meetings 2 hours. I also think that 2 hours is a limit of concentration, that
Agreed.
after that period of time, minds start to wander and other things encroach on thinking time. I want you to concentrate on what's going on here, we make our decisions, we vote, and then we get on with life. We also had a discussion about whether or not these meetings have to be during daytime, we could have the meetings in the evening. Some, in fact, I think, I don't know, Ed might want to make a comment on this, but I think other towns have evening meetings for that purpose, that
They
is,
do.
to have, I don't
Yeah.
know, Liz nods and says that's also the case, but I
Yeah.
don't know, how many meetings do you attend in the evening, Liz?
All of my meetings are at night. Me personally, I like the morning meeting, because it's just easier for my schedule. But every other town is night meetings.
Okay, that's another matter that it's not under discussion right now, but to solve your problem, if people were to understand, we got 2 hours to do this, and we meet at 8:30, I'm trying to be out of here by 10:30.
Yeah.
And that helps you, and it helps a lot of other people who are volunteering their time.
Just for.
I can
planning.
accept, accept that. Catherine,
What about adding something about like, okay, 1 or 2 meetings, like yes, we have the expectations that you're here for 12, plus additional. But I don't know, to quantify it a little bit, or
Okay.
I
I could acknowledge that. That is, there's an expectation that you will attend every meeting in person. However,
Carve out.
that's.
I don't know.
Well, NHMA does talk through this issue. And it notes that when you do that, it should be for a non-routine issue. It should be unusual that a member attends via remote
Yes.
means.
That's what I'm trying to say, that is for exceptional reasons, for very specific reasons. Remote is available and we can use it. But what I'm referring to here, and that the whole purpose of this is to say that for simply discretionary reasons, that an alternate take your place. It's your decision. You decide to, oh, I got a vacation plan and I'm gonna be away. Okay, we understand. But that an alternate take your position and that you not insert yourself into a meeting from wherever you are on vacation. That's the point of this.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm in agreement with that. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with somebody participating remotely and not being able to vote, and that somebody is subbing for them.
Yeah,
That doesn't bother me.
that's the whole purpose of this discussion. That's 100% of what I'm trying to accomplish. Is to say, you should be here in person. If you have a discretionary reason for not being here in person, we can accept that, but an alternate's gonna take your position.
And I'm fine with that, but I still want to have the opportunity. I'm traveling out to Ohio and I'm in a motel room at 8:30 in the morning. I'd like to not just watch the meeting. I'd like to be there and raise my hand if I have something to say,
I hear you.
okay? Even if I'm an alternate.
Could you put a clause in there about at the discretion of the chair or, you know, I mean, I don't know.
And you guys can take it on a case by case basis.
It could be, but I'm trying to avoid that in the rules and procedures.
Yeah, but you're trying. My problem with what you're saying, Bill, and I respect you, is you're trying to draw a very bright line. And I think what Margaret is saying is that it should not be a bright line, it should be a wiggly line. Such that if I'm in, where am I going next? If
Well, you're the principal reason I'm doing this.
if I'm in Amsterdam, all right, or wherever the hell my wife takes me, if I'm wherever I am, and I want to attend that meeting, knowing that I cannot vote, but I may have something to say, I should have that opportunity. I think that's what Margaret is
That's
saying.
what I was saying too.
And that's not a bright line that in my mind. In my mind, that's not a bright line, that's a squiggly line.
Okay,
I have given up my position to vote,
Mhm.
but I am still able to, at your discretion, to raise my hand in Zoom because you muted me, right?
you muted yourself.
I'll mute myself, all right? And when I raise my hand, you will have the opportunity to unmute me so that I can make a point if I desire and you choose to allow.
Okay.
That is what Margaret is saying, and I think I would agree with that.
Look, I'm listening to you, but at the same time, I'm disagreeing.
That's fine, you know, I don't.
Ed raised his hand.
I would just say to that point, if you're gonna allow a member or an alternate member to speak but not vote, then you're opening yourself up, because then you also have to allow the public to speak through Zoom. So you have to open up the whole meeting to Zoom for everybody.
Yeah.
And then everybody can log in, and then you have to figure out whether they're a resident or not, if they're trying to speak on the matter. So you're really broadening and opening yourself up to some unsatisfactory scenarios.
Yes, I'm trying to avoid that. Anna,
Mr. Chair, so I will say, at least in the corporate world of today, that is very technologically heavy. Can you tell I'm finishing my first coffee still? No worries. So we do have, at least my team and my plants are held to a requirement that everything we do has to be Zoom because we're across multiple countries even. So everything is Zoom, Teams meeting, what have you. But the requirement is that you are on camera, that you are muted until you are speaking, and that you have your attention on the matter. So that's the expectation for the team. So if the team is, for instance, sitting in an airport trying to board their flight, that team partner is asked not to join the meeting via Zoom because that's not where your focus is, right? You're focused on listening to when your boarding group is being called. I don't know that you want to get that granular, but I know you want some sort of clear line, so to the fact of there should always be personal discretion from board members, alternates, attendees, that if your focus cannot be on the meeting and you're not in a quiet place where it has your full attention, you should not necessarily be in attendance of the meeting. That's at least the expectation that has unraveled in the corporate world of today,
Yes.
so.
I have
Okay,
that
I'm saying
same
something else. Go ahead.
I have to ask, I don't know the answer to this question, Liz may know. If a member of the planning board is recognized and is participating via remote means, aren't they allowed to vote?
If they're a seated member,
Yes,
um,
they're not counted as a quorum,
right, the quorum is in person.
right,
If they're seated, then yes, they have the voting right.
right. So if they're attending remotely, then by definition, they're recognized, they're seated.
No,
No.
no.
Only alternates if they're seated.
No, I'm talking about,
Members,
I'm talking about
just
members.
Members, then technically, yes, they are
Yeah.
still attending as a member unless they're saying otherwise. Unless
Right.
they're saying I'm joining as the public
Right,
and not.
yeah.
So
So
they would have
you're just
to
attending
vote,
via remote, you're just not here, so you are seated because you are a member. I mean,
Yeah.
that,
So
I
you're
think
gonna-
that's how I read it.
Okay.
You're gonna accomplish the same thing by, listening by YouTube. I'm saying something different. What I'm proposing is amendment to the rules and procedures that say that if you make a decision for a discretionary reason to be absent, that you will be replaced by an alternate. That alternate will be seated in your place and have all of the rights of a voting member. That's what I'm proposing. That if you make a discretionary decision, it's your decision, that you're away for some reason, whatever it is, that you'll be replaced by an alternate and that alternate will have your vote. That's all there is to it.
I mean,
And there are other reasons, let's say that
That's,
I have an emergency, blah, 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 blah. Look, things can alter. We're all human. We're all able to, well, I guess maybe we should, but for the rules and the procedure, that if you go away on vacation, you cannot attend, you're going to be replaced by an alternate, and that alternate will have your vote. That's the proposal.
I think that makes it easier. I don't love it because I know I won't be here in August. Sure, an alternate can take my position. If I can't participate, I will not watch on YouTube. I will watch it later, which I guess is the same outcome.
It's your decision. Yeah, fine. That's perfectly okay. But I'm just trying to avoid.
Yeah, I'm putting a fine point on it.
Yeah, and so am I. I'm trying to be very specific about this. That's the ambiguity that I'm trying to eliminate. Go ahead,
That's
Mr.
Mr. Chair, in an effort to keep this meeting at 2 hour
Yes,
limit, perhaps you could take a sense of the board rather than a complete vote at this point. I mean, you can't vote, but just, we have 10 of 11 people here. What do the current members of the board think about your proposal? And you could hold a vote, of course, as well, but you have people here who can't technically vote, but
well,
see what they think.
So they can do a sense of the meeting.
town manager also suggested that because we took a vote the first time, that we should take a vote.
Well, yes, but I think
Okay,
what does everybody think? Just go
Around the table.
Let's cut off discussion and then vote.
around the table, I'm looking for consensus. John, yes or no?
I like Zoom.
Margaret,
Yeah, I like Zoom as well.
No,
I'm fine with the change.
I am, of course.
I'm fine with the change. Again, it seems like though, like what are the consequences of somebody? That's where it's like, I feel like that's where ambiguity here, but I mean.
Okay. Just
I
want to
do-
make the
I like
change to say
point of
that,
Getting alternates in, that's,
yeah, don't expect that you're going to be able to be zoomed in if you're making a discretionary decision that you're away for some reason that's pertinent to you. That you're going to be able to inject yourself into the meeting and participate as if you were here. That's the point.
I'm fine with the change.
I'm fine with the change, but I would like to be able to listen the same time the meeting's going on through Zoom and not necessarily be recognized as a member or a anything, just a member of the citizen society, whatever.
That would be YouTube, not Zoom.
I don't wanna watch YouTube.
So
Okay.
So, we could put in the rules of procedure that Zoom is for listen only as well.
That,
There's
I
no
would be good with that.
participation.
Then why pay for Zoom if we're not gonna have any benefit?
If I can add to Liz's comment too, we could always post a login for Zoom for the public. And any missing member so that they can obviously log in and watch. And we could when you post your agenda, you could post a Zoom login for anybody. That way, you're not making it specific to just the members, but it's open to the public. And it's just for viewing. Nobody's allowed in, no voting.
We used to do that.
We used to, and we actually found that to be very difficult to control, trying to figure out who was,
But you don't let anybody in.
but you don't let them
You
in,
don't let
but.
anybody.
The question would be, the natural question would simply be then, why Zoom if there's nobody there? You have YouTube. Why would you
I would
go forward with Zoom if YouTube?
Because what we found was that when we did that and we said nobody can come, people were upset about it. They said, I'm here on Zoom and I raise my hand, I want to participate, Didn't work.
But I thought the whole premise is that the public can only view, they can't participate.
Yes,
That's
that's why
the
we have a
idea, yeah.
YouTube channel.
That's why we have YouTube for that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the differentiation is that board members, whether you're in Taiwan or wherever you are, because of today's technology, I still have the privilege as an alternate or full member to participate. Obviously not while you're in an airport or in your car or whatever, but if you can dedicate, as Margaret said, I'm in a hotel, I will dedicate the 3 hours of that meeting and I can give my attention to it. I'd like maybe not the opportunity to vote, but I have the opportunity to voice my opinion. And that's the differentiation between Facebook,
Zoom and YouTube.
YouTube.
And I will just add, we've had issues with YouTube in the past. I think one of the meetings recently for the select board had to be posted later because people couldn't attend.
Yeah, YouTube, in my opinion, is
Friend for
confusing.
reason.
But it is,
But it works.
Zoom participation is confusing. So my opinion, did Alan have something to say?
Well, no, you were going around the room.
I did, okay, I finished. So now I'm looking for, yeah, Alan,
I'm in favor.
okay. I'm looking for, I gotta move on here.
Can we table this? By any chance?
No, I don't want to do that.
Well, someone has to make a motion and then.
That's why I'm looking for a
A
motion.
motion, and then you can decide whether they,
Well, you can make a motion to table it.
yeah.
I don't wanna make a motion. I don't like any of this,
Wait a minute,
so I'm already against it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this vote to the next meeting.
There's a lot of discussion. Look how much discussion we
There's
have. We
no,
need-
all right, can we discuss the table? There was a motion,
Somebody has
someone
to
second,
second it
someone gonna
first.
second that
Second
motion?
it.
Okay, there's no section.
Margaret's not
Margaret
seated.
seconded it.
Did you second it, Margaret?
Mhm.
Oh, okay,
Can
But
you do
Margaret's
that
not
as a-
seated.
Can't do
She's
that.
not- she's not seated.
I'll
It's not
second it.
seated.
all right.
I'll second it.
What more is there to
All right.
discuss?
It's been seconded.
What's more to discuss? I mean, let's just vote.
Do you want me to just draft up some Zoom language? To be put in the rules and procedures, then you guys can look at it next meeting and say,
That's my.
say
yeah.
that, Zoom is.
Trying to get this done.
Yeah,
It's
I
been
just wanna
given a suggestion.
Well, I think if Liz writes up a paragraph or whatever it's gonna be, I think it'll be clear in
Yeah.
front of us versus, because we've talked a lot about it, there's a lot of, varying opinions, so I think if she
All right.
writes,
I've attempted to say that
and then,
if you make a decision for a discretionary reason to be absent from the meeting, that you will be replaced by an alternate, and that alternate will have your ability to vote. Case closed. Everything else is discussion.
But you have a motion and a second, so you have to vote on tabling it
Yeah.
first. And then
I understand.
carry it on.
Okay, vote on the,
Tabling it.
I'm tabling it.
Yes.
no,
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 Yes.
No.
No.
motion fails. And I'm looking for another motion.
Wait, I think you just made it. Could you repeat what
Can
you
you
said and
read?
turn it into a motion?
Okay, I meant, my motion is that the rules and procedures be amended to say that if a member is absent for a discretionary reason, that absent member will be replaced by an alternate who has the power to vote in your place.
I think you have to define you said discretionary reason.
Okay, discretionary reason would be,
At
My
the
suggestion,
discretion
sir,
of the chair.
is if we're gonna do this, it be a true bright line. You're either there or not a discretionary thing. It's not like I'm in Japan and can't get in there. It's not like I don't feel well and therefore I'm gonna stay home and come in. You're either here or you're not. No discretion. Bright line. That's my problem with what you said with having the
Well, let's
term
have a-
discretionary.
But you could have it
Discretionary
at-
would be travel.
The motion
You
hasn't
plan
been
that.
finished.
Okay.
And then we can discuss what discretionary means, be part of the discussion, I think.
I'm making the distinction between discretionary and emergency.
I will second that motion, just to get the discussion going.
Okay, you second the motion.
Right.
Okay, now we're in the discussion period. I'm saying that everything that I consulted said that there is a difference between a discretionary reason, I'm not gonna be here because I got other things to do. Or an emergency, that is, I can't be here because there's extenuating circumstances. There will always be reason to consider and be very mindful of an emergency or extenuating circumstances.
It could be something out of your control.
Yes,
I think
Let
it's a
me
general
ask the
understanding of
question.
that.
I was 50-50 whether I was gonna show up here today, wearing the mask, you can hear, blah, blah, blah,
I understand.
all right? And in the final analysis, with love and respect for you, all right, and taking more bills, I said, I'll be here and I'll stay as long as I can, and I will. Is that an emergency? Because
You're sick, you shouldn't be here, Mike.
no,
But
I have a
that's
cold.
that's a health, that's an emergency. It's not like it's a trip that you planned 5 months ago or a trip that you
It's
planned.
unexpected, right? It's
that-
something outside your control.
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
that's how they understand. And I think NHMA tells you what the specific phrase is that needs to be defined. I think you read it. There was a specific phrase, they said that the board should hone in on and define. I think that's what we're trying to do.
Well,
As what, the word reasonable was in there.
it's reasonably practicable, that mouthful.
No,
Whatever that means.
Yeah, that's what it said, but I tried to find out what that meant.
right.
So I went,
But they
and
actually tell you to define something.
no, all they did
Yeah,
was
so
refer
they-
to,
So a non-reasonable, if it's not reasonably practicable, this could be defined as something as minor as a person is recovering from an illness. And they do not want to get everyone sick, or it could be
Mike?
set at a higher bar, like a person is traveling out of state for work or a family emergency. Wherever the bar is set, it is important to have it clearly defined in writing.
So
So-
whether it's basically illness, work, personal travel is essentially the
Yeah.
three categories we're talking about,
So,
but not
yeah,
personal.
sick.
Yeah, but when I say like personal travel, I mean like if, for instance, my parents live in Minnesota and something were to happen to them if I have to fly out
Yeah.
there. That's
Yeah.
what I mean type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an emergency.
that's an emergency. But it's just that, I got something better to do and I'm not coming to the meeting.
Right.
That's discretionary.
Is it as easy just to say non-emergency versus emergency?
Oh, you don't, but.
That simple. Morgan, I feel like you're looking.
Yeah, I am, and the frequently asked questions.
Okay,
I would make personally, all right? I like bright lines. I really do. I like a bright line. We have 4 alternates. I understand that emergencies happen. I understand, God, I've been in the hospital. It happens. I've called in, I've zoomed in from the hospital. I don't want to be able to do that.
Mike,
Right
then
line.
you should make the motion to strip discretionary language and change it.
I make a motion that you take the term discretionary out and that it should either here or you're not.
All of them.
Make it
Well,
simple.
someone has to second it.
Well, we already had a motion in a second.
Well, no, but he's revised.
He's revising the
That's
motion. The
amendment.
motion, he's eliminating the term discretionary.
Right, make it bright
Second.
line test.
Do we?
You're either here or you're
second
not.
that. I agree with you, Mike, 100%.
All right,
But also I agree with Ed. You can't open the Zoom door or else the public comes in.
I agree with that entirely.
That's the
Right.
problem.
I don't want to open the
Is
Zoom
that
door.
true? If you only open the Zoom door to members of the planning board?
If you're gonna open the Zoom door and you're gonna allow the members to speak. But not vote, then you should open it up to the public to also speak.
Because you're just no more than.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor.
Right.
And there has been
And it's been seconded.
yes,
second.
and but there was a proposal to amend the motion to say, to eliminate the term discretionary. You're either here or you're not.
and if you're not here, an alternate replaces you.
That's right.
Yes.
For whatever reason, you're not here.
Right.
That's what you said.
And then I'm gonna
That's what
ask,
I'm trying to
I'm gonna ask Liz to interject language to say that there are cases where emergency situations occur.
Well, I think, no, Mike is saying no. right?
No,
Not even.
period. You're
Mike
here or
said
not.
no, okay,
That's the
fine,
motion. That's the amendment he's made to your motion.
that's fine.
So we need to.
I like clarity.
Got it.
Who decides
Let's
what's
vote.
Okay,
Who
we're ready to
decides what's
vote.
an emergency
We're ready to
situation?
vote.
On the amended,
The amended motion is that if you're not here, and I don't care for what reason you're not here, you will be replaced by an alternate, and that alternate will have the power to vote in your place.
Yes, sir.
That's what's under discussion right now, and that's what's up for vote.
Yes,
What
sir.
is your vote?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 it's passed. It is done. Liz, please write some language and it'll be ready for next meeting.
And I still have a question, Mr. Chair. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Mhm.
I need to be fully understood about this. I cannot zoom in as just a nobody. Is that correct?
That's
Correct.
correct.
So no zooming in on the planning board meeting
Correct.
ever again.
Only YouTube.
You
Even
can,
if we
you
have
can
to
YouTube,
vote
you can
once.
find out what's going on by watching YouTube.
So I had a
Margaret.
question as well. It is possible to chat when you were on YouTube. Is there anybody monitoring the chat?
I doubt it.
I never see that.
Should not be.
You're right,
No
Margaret.
interaction.
Should not be.
On
Does
my
that have to be
viewing
turned
only.
on?
I don't know, but I've never used
Me neither.
YouTube personally, but I know that they do have like the live feeds with the, you'll see.
Oh,
people,
when you see
posting
like
it.
the emojis and stuff
Yeah.
pop
But-
up,
but-
okay, I actually
But I
didn't
don't
know
know.
that.
So I will rely on the technology to say that there's a means by which,
Viewing only.
yes,
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if we could also make it clear that this does not exclude the possibility of using Zoom for invitees. Someone you want to invite to speak who cannot make it up to our rather remote location.
like the ordinance says
Yeah.
for the RSA for New Hampshire, right?
Yes.
Where,
Just make
yeah.
sure it's plain and whatever language we come up with it.
I meant just,
Invitees.
I meant just us.
Right.
Right.
I just wanted to clarify, we weren't.
all right, may I move on?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, all right. Madam Secretary,
But it's not there.
you're up to no good?
It doesn't pop up.
What doesn't?
Oh, on Zoom?
On, YouTube.
No, it shouldn't. Right?
No, but you can still do it, but it doesn't show up
But it
anyway.
Doesn't show.
I wanted to talk about, it's unfortunate that Rob isn't here. I wanted to talk about the CIP. And that the RSA direction regarding CIP membership and responsibility. So RSA 674-5 requires that one planning board member be a part of the Capital Improvement Committee and may include but not limited to other members of the planning board or the town governing body, which in this case is probably the select board. This meant that the CIP is an advisory committee to the planning board and that the planning board will discuss and approve any changes to the committee membership or responsibility. At least that's what it says in the RSA. Now, town manager, do you have anything to say on this matter?
On the CIP, I think, one, we supported it, gives it, the sooner you guys can get involved in the CIP process, helps the team upstairs prepare the budget, so we're in favor of it, we support it, and we certainly would like a lot of participation from the.
I know that Rob has said that he's interested, that is anybody here from the CIP committee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
two people to your right.
Oh, excuse me. I opened my big mouth for no reason because the experts are here. So I wanted to say that I know Rob is in favor of accelerating the schedule. And that you guys are talking about what the CIP should be doing now.
So at our last meeting, planning board meeting, remember, we had the schedule, there we
Yes.
go. Thank you, Miss Anna. So we talked about that, we made some adjustments to that with the goal of trying to get the CIP have a public hearing once the planning board has reviewed it, and get the recommendations to, and jump in here too, to the select board and town when they're doing their planning, when
Yeah.
they're doing their
At their
budgeting, so
budget.
they have that information. And we really wanted to try and focus on, transparency as far as, that's why we talked about having a public hearing once we, so that we don't wait till town meeting and, it gives them another,
Two
okay.
public hearings.
So,
Yep.
Yep.
That had been bumped up to like summer and early fall.
Yeah, I
believe.
mean,
Yeah.
so we're kind of starting to slip a little bit here, so we wanted to keep moving forward,
Yeah, we have a meeting after this meeting to
So-
continue, just to keep things rolling and moving. There was some discussion between Rob and Steve about pausing to let Ed come up to speed. Catherine and I were not in favor of that, because we just, as Catherine put, time marches on. We
Does it
have to
ever?
keep- We
Yes.
have to keep moving. So we've been doing things. In that Rob had us look at a couple of different town CIPs.
Londonderry, Campton, yeah.
Yep, Campton is very formal, very involved, and one of the things we've noticed in all of this is that the CIP is one of the directives of the CIP is to also suggest how funds are allocated, in that, like, are we gonna use general taxation, CRFs, all those sorts of things, which is not something we have done in the past.
Correct.
So
It's good.
we're in the middle of like a rehaul of the
Mhm.
whole process.
If I may, while you're discussing that, we'd also like to throw in there the subject matter of revolving funds and enterprise funds to be considered, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and then
So-
town manager is actually, well. When I was a member of the CIP, the town manager was a participatory.
He was
In other words,
director.
he's there. Any of the discussions that's going on, and the town manager is ultimately responsible for the town's budget.
Yes.
Operating
And
budget,
that
yeah.
town manager has a stake.
Yeah, so in this interim, we've been meeting with Steve as
Yeah.
that person, and
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all understood. One of the things that was under discussion, which was expanding CIP membership.
And last planning board meeting, we discussed that is certainly a very viable option and something to look at for next year.
For next year.
Because, and I thought we kind of had a discussion about that. Because
Agreed.
again, we're like, let's pick one or two things, do them well, and kind of, and then next year we can, keep moving.
Okay, all well understood. That okay with you, Ed?
Yes, terrific.
as follow-up to that, and I know it's in the meeting minutes that we didn't get to go through,
Mm.
but we had also discussed, not only for that meeting, because we're not having people necessarily seated and involved with the committees, but in also the 24-hour notification, getting more vocal and communicative about where we're posting these meetings, maybe get some postings up at the rec department or the post office, stuff like that. So if people aren't going onto the town website, because transparently, a lot of people only go there to look at dump hours. They are aware of the meetings and can
That
at least
changed?
feel like they're
Stuff I was
included.
changed
Yep.
around.
No, but it's
I-
really
I-
stuff
I-
like, oh, okay. Giving me a hard time, like. Rob has been putting together agendas and sending them to the town, and the town
Awesome.
does what they do, put it on
Post
the
them on,
website
yeah.
and at the post office in
Okay.
the special little box. And we could even, I could get a copy from Alicia maybe and put it up at the rec department or the club or something like that. And you, Morgan, I think you had mentioned that you and your team attend the call with the mountain, yeah?
Yes,
Rob did last time, I believe.
Okay.
I
I was
have
on
it.
it yesterday.
Could-
We don't have a specific commitment in our team, and then I did talk. I just promoted this meeting.
That's what I was gonna say.
um,
You had mentioned that
yesterday.
you
I
were
did
gonna
not
do
bring up the
that.
CIP, but every time
Okay.
I'm on it going forward, I certainly will, now that, you know, I have a little more clarification of, you know, when you've got, you know, working group versus, you know, treat it as any other meeting, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
And
definitely.
the
Rich?
select board does not agree with. it.
Yes, you have to be
Okay.
very careful about talking about
Well, it's
town policy and non-official.
absolutely,
forum.
no, it's just,
No, I
it's
think just a
just,
notification of the meeting
absolutely,
itself.
there's no
occurring.
discussion. So
Yeah.
for example, yesterday you're like, oh, what's going on? I said, well, we have a meeting tomorrow. The agenda's on the website, so check that
That's-
out.
That's what,
Oh, what's on the agenda? And I said, well, off the top of my head, I knew we were talking about you know, this, but there's no conversation back and forth about opinion about such, it's coming to the meeting and, you know, so absolutely.
yeah, no, I think we do
Very
have to.
clear about that, yeah.
Good, no, that's fine. I mean, we do.
Yeah.
We have to have the official channels.
Mhm.
The website has to be
Absolutely.
one because it's the official town
Sure.
website.
Yeah.
The post office is classically another. We don't do newspapers anymore. But all these other
And then we had
places,
it.
would, you know, social media, I mean, if the committee wanted to use their social media account just to post it, the
Like an
agenda, but
FYI.
those
Yeah.
don't carry any legal weight.
Well,
no,
And you should keep discuss, because remember, you alone, and I have to control myself on this, you alone are not the board,
Mhm.
right? And so you can't speak for the board,
Right,
so you should just limit it to housekeeping
absolutely.
as much, if
Yes.
you're
And
in
I
that
don't-
environment, right?
And we didn't even, and I don't even feel comfortable having a commitment like, oh, we're gonna be on that community meeting.
No,
It's
yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
we're able to, we're there.
That's,
Oh,
At
this
least
is okay
mention
for you.
it, yeah.
it's the same principle about not talking about business in front of the planning board
On the side.
with someone who stops you. You
Absolutely.
give them the housekeeping bit, oh, we're gonna talk about it, but beyond that, you should
Yep.
come to the meeting.
On the website.
okay. Any further discussion about CIP for the moment? Ed?
Good.
Good. Okay, moving on to working group report. And I would ask first for the landscaping report.
Okay.
Madam Vice Chairman.
Are we able to pull it on?
Did we skip code enforcement?
No.
No,
No.
No, we're not, haven't gotten there yet, okay.
we're at working groups.
Working groups, landscaping. So I don't know if we want to do we want to read through it or no? Because people may not have had a chance.
Yeah, I don't know, has everyone had a chance to take a look at it?
That was the
I know I
regulation you
just-
had sent a couple
Yeah,
days
I
ago,
just
right?
sent
Yeah,
that just
okay,
a couple
yeah.
days ago.
Yeah,
I did a general review, yeah.
And we increased the regulations to include headlight buffering on the edges of parking lots. Clarifying what is required, black and white, subjective, performance-based regulations, just like we're doing with the architectural regulations, rather than subjective. So it's going to be clear, yes, no, this needs to be here, it doesn't need to be here.
May I request the highlights?
well, it's actually, they're in the.
Yeah, are
it's the
we
way
able
can get it up.
to,
Can you give me
I don't have a hard copy of it and bring it, are we
3 or
able to
4
pull it up?
points of what the direction of the committee?
So, let's see.
And then I had also, Liz had line
Okay.
item comments,
Yeah.
not a lot, but
Okay, yep.
just
Let me see
to be
if
able
I-
to, so people can follow around.
I mean, Liz,
Um,
I do.
So
have
for
it up
example,
if you
but
want me to
actually I can start with
structure it.
the first page because just so
Yeah.
to put people, Liz, if you don't mind, because the first page never changed. I'm just gonna start
Yeah.
reading that. Okay.
Right.
So there's an advisory nature of this document. This draft is provided by North Country Council as a technical planning recommendation only. It is intended to assist the planning board in its review of potential regulatory updates. The planning board retains full authority and discretion to accept, modify, or reject any portion of this draft. This document is not intended to advocate for any specific outcome, but rather to present options for consideration. The legal disclaimer is that NCC, that's North Country Council, is not a law firm and does not provide legal advice. The town is strongly encouraged to have this draft reviewed by municipal legal counsel prior to adoption or implementation to ensure consistency with applicable laws, regulations, and local procedures. The purpose of this draft. There are proposed replacements to definitions section 7G, landscaping and screening, and section 9D, landscaping and screening standards within the site plan review regulations. This draft is intended to basically strengthen those areas. Okay, so the basis for recommendations. So the planning and design concepts that we looked at, that were identified by the SC group. We looked at regulatory approaches in New Hampshire municipalities of Hanover, Durham, Milton, and then we looked at best practices, site plan review, landscaping design, and environmental mitigation. So the next steps, I'm working off an old draft here, but so line 24. So the next step, so we reviewed, we discussed, we met, I don't know, 3 times or so, until we came up with a draft that we wanted to bring to the planning board for discussion, and then incorporate if there's any, major call outs. Then the next step would be to send it to legal, to do a legal review. And then once incorporate then any legal feedback that we have. At that point, we would then proceed with public hearing. So at the public hearing again, so now we're talking probably June or July at this point. And then the planning board again meets to discuss feedback from the planning board changes. And at that, not until that point. So now we're talking July, August, at that point we vote. So between now and July, August, we have plenty of time to go through and really, like, if you've got additional things or you think about stuff later and you want to go back and clarify, go ahead.
Kathy, I'm assuming that this is for the site plan
Yes,
site
review
regulations.
regulations,
Yes.
and that's just a planning board vote, but
Yes.
they are
After a
obviously,
public hearing.
Yes.
right. But they obviously will have to comport with zoning ordinance. Do we have to make changes in zoning to affect some of these or all of these changes?
So the zoning ordinance, yes, there will be updates, to the definitions. Which in looking at the site plan regs, I do have to update this because instead of adding it to section 3 in the site plan regs, we'll add it to, the zoning ordinance. And we can do.
Okay, so that'll be on the agenda for a zoning amendment for next town
Yes,
meeting.
for-
Okay,
yeah,
that's all. I just
definition
wanted clarification on that.
As well, but the language in the zoning ordinance is pretty broad. And so this just refines for commercial uses now.
Right.
And then we can pull some of this for single family homes for residential uses. But I just caution to very minimal should be pulled from this to also regulate single family homes. We can remove the language of northern resort town looks and give more defined. We want it to be X, Y, and Z. There's a language I actually just recently learned about, and it's light reflective value. And so bright colors have LRV, yes. And so there are colors that have the low value, which are very, very bright. And then the LRV value at a 10 is very, very low. So you're looking somewhere
What's the opposite?
between, yeah, it is. Somewhere, and I forget the exact numbers, but we have them in here. So like that kind of language we could pull and put in the zoning ordinance, because then that kind of restricts, like, hey, we don't want a neon orange house sitting on top of the hill.
Right.
So,
I think we too, we're gonna have to be careful.
I'm gonna have to tear down your house.
The zoning, we don't
It's
want.
gonna be
the zoning
repainted
amendment
next
to-
year, so it's.
We don't want a zoning amendment to fail that will damage these changes we make.
correct.
So we have to be very careful about what's how the impact of the zoning amendment would have on any vote we take,
Right.
right? So we have to watch out for that.
For residential purposes, yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
For commercial, people may feel completely differently and want that heavily regulated,
Right,
which is why it's a planning board vote.
Right.
But yes.
something to watch.
Because this is just for commercial, and then two,
Yes.
yeah.
First amendment,
More
okay.
than, what, 2, 3 family.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, Mike has a
Thank you.
comment.
Yeah.
Just finish coughing. My question here is one of grandfather.
This
Okay,
would be from here on out, from wherever the planning board has a public hearing and adopts this language, or whatever language we.
whatever,
do, it will be from that point on, it will
for,
not
wait a
be,
minute, for construction
yes,
going forward.
Yeah.
So that things that have been constructed, my house, for example,
Mhm.
Green Pea, for example. This would not apply to that.
Right.
It would only apply to construction that happens after this is passed.
yes, unless it's substantially
Change.
changed, which is
Right.
50% or more.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And that's defined in there.
I
What,
understand, but I
Right.
think that that's very, very important that when we're discussing this with the public,
Mhm.
that has to be emphasized very, very strongly, who this is going to apply to.
Well, it applies to everybody.
Well,
But
Well,
it could be, grandfather,
Yeah.
right, unless there's a substantial change into what they're doing.
But that's what has to be
But
explained.
that's standard, yeah, I agree, it's just standard.
which we can
Okay.
add language into this saying, with the date of adoption and anything in place previous to such and such a date will be a legal non-conforming structure unless substantially changed. Which we can add language right into it.
Which is what we define those terms.
Right.
Correct.
Question on two different kind of timelines here. The simpler question is, when this goes over to our legal counsel, what is their timeline typically for review of these ordinances?
we're hoping a month.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, we're hoping a month.
About a month,
Yeah.
okay. The second question I had is when, like Liz, I'm thinking, you're reviewing this one, you've also reviewed the stuff John and I have been working on. When you've got two running in tandem that so closely overlap, and I know you really helped me out with like drawing those distinct lines. But do you recognize the other working document if there's a shift in that document not yet approved? Like, how do you
It has to be
recognize something that's
cohesive.
not approved? So they have to be cohesive in the sense of both of them not yet being approved. And then if one didn't approve because say the zoning ordinance didn't happen and then we couldn't change that, would you then have to revise the other to then align with that cohesion?
So the current zoning ordinance language is so vague and broad that these site plan reg changes would.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, got
So
it.
even if the zoning ordinance language change didn't pass, that would be okay, because these we can
We're
still
okay.
plug in.
Okay, thank you.
Are
John,
we getting into the details of the plan yet or no?
No.
We have,
We're moving our way through it. I'm sorry for
yeah,
the
no,
diversion.
no, that's okay.
just scheduling.
So I guess, I mean, depending on how much people had a chance to dig into this, we can kind of go through it. But you want me to, I mean, I can just read, or I can just point out things. I mean, we basically, so
Yeah.
you've got line 35, you're starting with definitions that we would be adding to section 2 of the site plan regulations, just kind of really defining what buffer, disturbed area are. The healthy conditions, though, Liz, I did have line 39,
Yep.
and I'll throw it out to everybody. So that says, healthy condition, it is a state of active growth. Do we want to say, define it, like just say, does that mean the vegetation is in a state of active growth,
The
vitality, or is it
plantings,
the plantings, or yeah, something like that?
Yep.
See that changed on there.
That's important here, because they'll put it in and then they let them die.
Yeah, okay, and then, does anybody have questions about, impervious surface, invasive species? We really tried to quantify things and put in like, okay, who defines what that is? Well, look, you've got a website link to here, so you can go and you can see where, you know, what that is, what is an invasive species. And as things change too, we also reference the most updated, you know, version of this. We talk about what is landscaping, native, and then if you can scroll down, we define plantings. And then John and Kelly, I don't know if Kelly was able to stay or not. You guys jump in if they were other invaluable members of the committee for sure. You know, what is screening? What are we screening? Oh, and wait, can we go back to line, the definition of screening? Because we talked about this a lot. So a method of visually obscuring and mitigating the view of a structure, object, or activity from adjacent properties or public ways using vegetation, fencing, walls. And then we put in for the select board as defined in Article 3 of the zoning ordinance, just so that we're all clear about what a wall is. We had a lot of.
I am very clear. I've always been clear.
Great changes, combination thereof designed to provide partial or full, and that was John's contribution to that. It's like, let's make sure we define
It is
what the wall is.
crystal
So yeah, and then, and again, line 58, we just did amended section 70, number 5, parking areas with landscaping and snow removal and or provisions. These are just different changes. Okay, so then we were replacing section 7G, landscaping and screening. We're titling it landscaping, buffering and screening. So, you know, what do we want to see in that plan? What do we want to see in a landscaping and buffering plan? And we noted all those things. We want to see the grading, utility plans, lighting. A lot of these things are still the same. Signing, the plan shall include existing and proposed open space, water courses, significant man-made natural features, trees larger than 8 inches in diameter. You know, and you can see we put down all those what we want, species, common botanical. You guys want me to keep reading?
No, I
Get it
say.
to the self, yeah, a list of everything. And then 88, Liz, I think, yes, I like that wording. I do. Line 88, we talked about noise too, because, you know, we use landscaping as a noise, you know, as a buffer. So what is that? Like, how can we try and define that a little bit? So we said that noise that can be heard beyond the property line louder than what is typical for a residential area shall be identified and included, you know, the hours and the duration of such excessive noise. So for example, with the Adventure Center, now this doesn't apply because we've approved that, but like for the Adventure Center, you know, you're going to have the zip lining, right? And hooping and hollering and having a great time. Well, you've got your houses across the street. So that might have, you know, played into it had we had this. So,
I have a question on that one.
Yeah.
Related to a lot of what's in the master plan, both here and at the mountain. I could foresee there being a certain large build out that there's been talk of related to kind of the sky rights and everything. How does that work in that situation when you're talking about the Chondola, for
like
instance?
noise.
Yeah, because if you're ever near, I don't know if people have spent time next to gondolas, but in hiking Cannon Mountain, it does have a certain reverberation sound. And actually we can hear it at our house from the little chairlift that goes up Snow's Mountain as well. Not that it bugs us, I'm just saying.
Right.
So
I don't know how
I don't
landscaping,
know how it
I
would
mean, as
work
it
in
would,
that case.
landscaping would come into play as far as
The
what's on the ground.
The ground, right, so
Helping that,
Yeah. For the,
but,
I don't know anything about air rights or noise.
yeah, I've kind of been trying
that.
to read up more on that stuff, but no, I was just curious if there was anything related to like specifically around the juncture points, if there was gonna be. Cause then you kind of get into the argument of like, there's a certain easement from where a tower is built to, you know, the plantings, right? Cause there's always that allowance because you can't be crowding things, but technically that could help offset noise. So I was just trying to think like future plan to in the master plan, if there could be any conflict here.
so I think maybe using noise or using landscaping as a noise mitigation technique could be something that a developer says, okay, it is like a tool, but, it may not be something that's gonna solve their whole
Sure.
issue. So,
I'd have to
something that's
reach
very
out.
loud like that, or something that potentially could be very loud, I don't know, yes, maybe landscaping would help, but it's not gonna be necessarily the
this
be all
tool.
end all. I mean, it's just,
And I don't know if we have to get like that granular, but I know a lot of what Mr. Chair has said is trying to dial in so we don't have as much gray area. So just in that sense, Liz, I don't know if it's something worth looking at,
Yeah, I'll
when
have-
you've got something that's an airway, how you offset that type of thing.
Yeah,
Cause I know like
will
that's a
have
lot of
to reach
complaints
out.
with why towns ban drones, right? Is the noise from them.
Our
so-
noise, ordinance is not particularly strong.
Okay.
Well, we have times, but we don't
Yeah.
have decibel limits.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which decibel limits can sometimes be hard to enforce.
yeah,
Because unless you have a certified decibel reader,
sure. You have no idea.
there, yeah.
No one's gonna know.
They'll give
Some
you a
people
rough
are more
idea,
sensitive
you
than
know,
others.
any
Yeah.
other kind of decibel reader, but it has to be a certified decibel.
I mean, you have your code enforcement officer
Yes, and it has to be calibrated.
That's why we
annually.
never,
Yeah.
Okay.
Use.
yeah, that's why we never went down the road and, decibels or having
Mhm.
to measure noise. We try to do it on the
Because you have
basis
to
of
measure from
time,
the property line where the
Mhm.
complaints coming.
right? It's very,
Being
very.
a zoning
difficult.
enforcement officer for the city of Newton, I dealt with it multiple times.
All right,
I imagine with regard to this will come up in the air rights
Yeah.
discussion and the
Yeah.
town meeting and all of that, about
It's
the
gonna come
noise.
up.
yes,
And the limits,
Yeah.
what limits the town could put, on any noise caused by the gondola.
Yeah.
It'll have to be worked out in that venue, I suspect.
I see Jim,
Okay.
Jim has a comment to make.
So, if you back up a little bit, you had different things when you set your conditions that you're gonna be looking at. One thing that we ran into previously was not specifying height of plantings at time of conditions.
we've addressed that
So
later
I
in there.
just wanna make sure that that's addressed so that we don't
Yes.
have that in the future.
Yes, that's a problem today and,
Yeah.
yeah, we,
It's in
okay,
there.
The
understood.
same idea with line 74, 8-inch trees. Is that when they're planted?
So
this
that
is
is
just-
for, this is for existing. They just have to be on the plan, but we do have later on in here, if you're going to remove. Anything larger than 8 inches, there's specific things, and then when you're planting it. There, we have specific, set of regulations to say what it has to be at planting.
Yeah.
And I believe it's 75%.
We're getting there,
It's in
yeah,
here.
we're addressing both
Yeah.
those, so don't
Yep.
make sure we don't forget as we
Yep.
get there to stop, so. Okay, so 97 is replacement for, we're gonna talk about landscaping, buffering, screening, okay. So this is so you've got your site plan review, any project that's disturbing 10,000 square feet or, increasing impervious, footprint by 25%, okay. And that's pursuant, we've got the RSA in there.
So to Mike's point, you're not technically grandfathered if you do any of those. Right?
Correct,
If you're-
correct.
Yes, if you're changing it 25% or more, then yes.
Yes, correct. Okay, so then the water buffer requirements, we put in, the vegetation, the perennial streams, brooks, rivers, ponds, including Corcoran Pond, what the buffer should be. And then,
What type?
remain undisturbed, what did we talk
Am I
about
going
here?
fast?
And again, we really tried to put in, if the practicality of it, if you're gonna disturb something, then you gotta put utilities in or whatever the case may be, you just put it back. Like, and we did also build in a lot of things as approved by the planning board or at the discretion of the planning board. So as you go through and you read this, you're gonna see, that there are a lot of discretionary areas where we could make,
It would allow for waivers.
Yeah, it would allow for waivers. If like a site is just not, there's no need to have erosion control and this and that or whatever, just because of that particular site, then the planning board can say, okay, you know what, it doesn't apply to this particular site. And you go, you'll read this. We were trying to be mindful of that.
Time out for a second. John has a comment.
No,
John, go ahead.
Catherine, how'd you come up with 30 feet?
We went and like we said, we looked at different towns and what the precedent was for other towns.
Okay, because on page 64 of our master plan, it talks about having done research with the New Hampshire state and that 100 feet was ideal. And then at the end of it,
Well, we also have it here. If there's a state regulation that's stricter, always the stricter applies.
okay.
So we've kind of got ourselves covered if there's things but I mean,
Yeah, I
we
think
can,
that's
so
right
we
at the top, right
definitely,
here. Nothing
you go through and you put that in there.
Right here.
We say it a couple
Does not
places.
supersede.
Yep.
Any of the state or federal
Yeah.
laws.
I mean, I know the master
Yeah.
plan is not legal basis for anything at this juncture, but if you're not gonna take the benefits of the researchers and such as to what the recommendations are, how did we get to 30?
So
And
what
in
you're
fact, even in
saying,
our own ordinance, I was looking at, there's a carve out for Corcoran's Pond, which is our,
Right,
I
but
guess
that's
central
shoreline
natural.
protection, that's a different.
Well,
That's
so
it.
shoreline protection doesn't. Because the Corcoran Pond is not regulated by the state, correct?
It's man-made.
yeah,
It's man
It's a man-made, but
and closed.
it has been regulated by the state.
Okay.
Whether or not we should allow that is another question, but in the past, we have sought state permitting for.
Okay,
And they come and do the
Right.
testing.
so.
Does that come
But
up
then
with
the
that?
point is
no, but
that-
your point is that you would like to see that changed, and
Agreed.
that's something that we can certainly make it stricter.
Well,
That's a recommendation that
correct. I mean,
you
the
would like to
recommendations
see.
by the researchers at the time they determined.
What was, I guess what I'm asking, Jen, what was it a recommendation for?
100 feet, he said?
For what zone? Was it an overlay zone or was it meant to be a minimum buffer for water body?
Because you got-
Vegetative buffer on page 64 in the 90s, New Hampshire experts recommended a minimum naturally vegetated buffer width of 100 feet for removal of pollutants. Wildlife research came up with 60% or better removal rate for pollutants. But for some reason, the ecosystem management consultant said, just do 25 feet. Not sure why. And then when I read the ordinances, it appears there's in the commercial one, a carve out for Corcoran's Pond, which is, I think, our treasure where people bathe, fish, do all these things. And now we're, in fact, in the ordinance, it just basically says, as to any lot which has frontage along the boundary of Corcoran's Pond, this is under commercial one, there should be no required setback for structures. So we're pretty much saying, just go into the water at that point. So,
There are easement rights involved. There's a long
thinking.
discussion.
Yeah.
There's easement rights involved. with
There
that.
is a reason for that, John.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't
two-
do anything.
And it would take another 2 hours to talk about that,
Yeah,
but
so
there was a
2 years
reason
ago.
for that. There's an existing agreement
But I
that
was-
contains easements.
But that's what I was getting at. That's an overlay district. That was, it's not sure, is it shoreline or shoreline? I'm trying to remember what, and the 100 feet is recommended, but it's not required by state. That's what you.
absolutely, the master plan stuff.
Okay, John, it's a remaining an outstanding problem.
Excellent research.
It will be until I die. Emily?
You're not gonna die. So
Oh, yeah.
that it's not a matter that we can discuss today and bring any resolution. I understand your query and it's legitimate, but it's gonna require a great deal more discussion. Fair enough? Okay, I think you've done outstanding work here.
Just quick,
Is it-
Catherine, on condition F, all I was gonna say, because I know it's come up before, is there should probably be some sort of timeline on that. For the replacement of
There
Yes.
is.
There is.
vegetation,
There
it's just
is.
later in the document, okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to read through
I think
them
it's
granularly.
Yeah, we did like 1 and 2, so,
1 or 2
yeah,
years.
so again, yeah, we can kind of keep going, I'll try and highlight different people's questions when
So
you go
we're-
in to see it too, if you see it. So where are we? Are we on, required buffers?
required buffers
And between incompatible uses. So basically that just talks about, again, you know, if you've got where commercial, civic, recreational, or multifamily, abuts an LDR, lower density residential, or a minimum vegetated buffer of 35 feet shall be provided. And we talked about what the buffer should include, that we said 6 evergreen trees per every 100 feet. Or at least, and then 6 feet at height at planting, supplemental planting sufficient to achieve at least 80% year-round opacity, I can never pronounce that, whatever, within 3 growing, okay, within 3 growing seasons.
So it has to be 80% covered within 3 years.
Yeah.
It has to be 80% covered.
You know, so again, and then we said, so the buffers shall remain undisturbed except for crossings approved by the planning board based on demonstrated necessity and minimal impact to buffer function. So again, we tried to put in, you know, again, look at number 5, required buffers shall not obstruct required site distances at intersections or driveway as determined by applicable engineering standards or the planning board. Minor encroachments as permitted by the planning board. So we tried to, you know, again, put in some leeway there. So parking and landscaping.
This
Does
is
anybody have any?
where- This is where I want to put
Okay.
the diagrams,
Okay,
that I have not finished yet.
so
So-
you would just talk a little bit about like what you would just,
Yeah,
so,
so for every, so any parking lot having 10 or more spaces, there should be 1 minimum 6-foot shade tree for every 8 parking spaces. And what I added was, for example, if there's 10 parking spaces, it's going to require 2 shade trees. Because if you have 10 spaces, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, it's only 2 more than the 8, so I only have to have 1 shade tree. No, you would technically need 1.5. So therefore you would need 2 shade trees. Yeah.
Question. If you are digging up a parking lot,
I had the same question. No,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no,
If
go
you're
for it.
digging up a parking lot, and let's use the yucks and giggles, let's use the Snowy Owl parking lot, which is kind of a disaster. You're digging it up and building a new parking lot. Does that mean that this applies? My guess is yes.
if it's more than
So,
25% of
This section applies to any expansion increasing building footprint or impervious surface by 25%.
But technically, you're not
So is it-
increasing, you're redoing
Is
an
it
existing
gravel
space.
or is it asphalt currently?
If you're moving or
Dirt.
replacing. it becomes
Hmm?
It's dirt currently? So they would be increasing if they're going.
Well, I don't know what it is.
It's like, I would say it's a combination, like the first front of
The
it
front
is
is kind of
asphalt
just
and the
broken up
back is
asphalt.
dirt.
Is,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it asphalt, it's whatever.
Would it disturb also more than 10,000 square feet of land?
10,000 square feet
So height by.
is a quarter of an acre.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
don't
I.
think that-
I think it would.
Not to cone in on Snowy Owl.
I don't mean to
and
pick on
any
Snowy Owl.
along. I
No.
think this is covered in what you.
Yeah,
what
I
you-
don't think we should deal with this level of
What if?
detail.
Right.
Okay.
yeah.
okay.
I mean, my question
I
was
think we
more
should
to
move
the
on.
repaving, like in the sense of Golden Eagle Lodge just said that huge repaving project. Do you
so-
have requirements of like pitches or plantings when you basically dig, cause they pretty much went down to the base and then repaved, which is totally fine, I'm glad they did, but would it then apply in that case?
There's
Number
regular
9?
maintenance.
Yeah, they didn't change
Okay,
anything.
got it.
They just.
Since
paved
the
over.
footprint didn't change, they're good.
But
Okay.
the lot,
That's how I
the
understood.
parking lot design, if you can scroll down to number 9, I think, under park, okay, wait, where is it? Parking, oh, no, there's none. It was 9 on here. Okay, but we did talk about, yeah, that it needs to, all the landscaping, the parking lot needs to, you know, account for root structure and what, and how is it gonna be watered and maintained and, you know, so, yeah. And again, we put in things like, you know, the New Hampshire Stormwater Manual, like where applicable, and tried to have sites so people could go and look at what is landscape industry standards? Well, it's based on the ANSI/ISI.
Yeah.
I have a
the
question.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Did you take into consideration, plowing and the damage that does.
Yes.
to the
Yes.
Trees.
Yeah.
There's-
Now,
yeah.
trees never seem to survive in parking.
There's actually we are requiring that there be no landscaping other than whatever it is currently within the snow storage areas. Because you can't have a tree where you store snow.
So actually, that leads into tree preservation, which is line, the next, and kind of to Alan's question too. So trees measuring 12 inches in diameter at the 4.5 feet height. So if it's 12, 12 inches in diameter at 4.5 feet height, that's where this applies. So it's, pretty, those, outside. Approved disturbance areas shall be preserved to the maximum extent practical as determined by the planning board. So again, when we go and we do these site visits and we're looking at these trees, I mean, that's where, as determined by the planning board, when we have questions or we want to, have these discussions, we've got the leeway to do it.
Okay, can I just come back to my question? I don't think I understood, or the answer wasn't.
We have snow storage
Yeah,
later on.
I'm not talking about snow storage.
Oh,
I'm talking about just trees for every 8 parking spots,
Oh,
you have
okay.
to have a tree.
Mhm.
And the history here in Waterville Valley is they had wonderful trees in the parking lots, and over the years, they all died because of the plowing and the salting.
And the salt.
So what's the point of requiring trees if they're not going to survive and end up looking like crap?
so
And
tree
so they don't
preservation
cut them down.
C is,
So the snow storage, they have to be outlined on the site plan.
Right,
Required landscaping areas shall not be used as snow storage.
but I'm not talking about snow storage.
Okay.
I'm talking about just trees along the parking spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
They
still
won't
have,
survive.
that died.
it says within 2 years, if you scroll, I think it's C.
It is.
C.
Yeah.
Okay, all required plantings shall be maintained in a healthy condition and any plantings that do not survive within 2 years shall be replaced. Okay, so we say all these things, well, that's all good and well, and then later we do address, how do you enforce that? So
Yeah, but that's a tough one, though. I don't-
Well, we-
There are some trees that survive salt.
hope to address that later in the document.
That-
Not many, okay.
You require somewhere in here, we talk about the level 4
The zoning.
area. for-
Yeah, so native,
Zone
it's just right next to it. So native
Okay.
plant materials, line 170, if you go down, and you can even scratch up. So it needs to be, plantings need to be hardy to USDA planting, hardy, whatever, zones 4 and 5 appropriate. Suitable for site conditions, tolerance of snow load and salt exposures, yeah. We talked about
All
that.
right.
And then invasive species,
Are we able
yeah,
to?
so again, we're trying to cite different places for people to go and look.
Mechanical and electrical.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we ever talk about replacement of trees in kind, like you
Yes,
take
we
down
talked about that.
50
Yeah.
to 100-foot trees and now?
So it's,
We
Well,
did. We talked about if it's goes to, it can be in a different area, if it's not applicable to be where the project is gonna be, but you have to put then something.
Yes,
we do.
but it doesn't have to be, there's 100-foot tree there, it has to be replaced with 100-foot tree.
Yeah.
We don't. do
Right,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Require that in these? Is that something that the board?
Is there a caveat now?
No,
that
how are you gonna
there's
get that tree
technology
here?
Available to move trees?
Pardon, say that again.
There is.
Is there a caveat in there that there's technology now available to move trees?
No, we did not address a
Um,
specific tree that if it's a certain, like, let's say, for example, if it's over, 18 inches in diameter, that tree has to be preserved and moved. I
But we
think,
do say if it has to be moved, it could be moved somewhere else within town.
yeah,
Ed,
But-
what's your experience with this kind of question?
Yeah, right, so what do you-
I would just speak to, everybody needs to remember the trees are a renewable resource, that they can't always be replaced in kind, but you can grow new trees, so. As much as you might want to preserve some, sometimes it's not possible.
again, I think we put in the words where applicable and at the discretion, but it could also require, and also too, then you gotta consider the health of the tree, because some of the bigger trees are just, are not unfortunately healthy, but.
And it's a-
but yeah,
Just out of
Financial burden.
curiosity.
well, it is, it's expensive.
And yeah, I mean, it is expensive, but to that point, is it worth flip flopping the ratio
you have under tree preservation, condition 3, where it basically states removal of trees 18 inches in diameter measured at 4.5 feet above ground level require replacement of 1 tree planted for every 2 trees removed.
What line is
are
it?
you at?
Doesn't have the lines on
Hold
the
on.
email.
That
Go,
line wasn't on you.
go up.
Was it
yeah.
under tree preservation?
It was
So-
condition 3 under tree preservation. At least in the version that was,
Okay,
oh,
there we
wait,
go.
right there, condition 3, line 209. So is it worth, because the replacement trees are only 2.5 inches in size, is it worth flip-flopping the ratio? So that
So
you
we-
retain the renewable resource of the tree itself?
So we had this flip-flopped in the
Okay,
very beginning, but when they're fully grown, if you were to replace, if you were to pull out, 1 tree and you have to put 2 back, it may just overload the site.
no, that's fair, so maybe a 1-for-1 then, cause right now it would be if you pull 2, you're only putting 1 back, so then I'm just wondering, you know, for offsetting of obviously
Yep. So,
oxygen and carbon
yep.
But
and
Ellie,
Ellie,
what's
do
your
you-
question or
gas.
comment?
Yes, if we do that, then we'll also have to put, with that as well, like, at the discretion of the board.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's
Because
totally
if
fine.
it
I was just
doesn't-
wondering if a 1-for-1 swap made more sense.
Wait a minute. Practically, I'm looking behind John.
Mhm.
And if you go behind John and you see that, assuming that actually happens, a major hotel is built behind Green Peak,
Okay.
okay? When that happens, when you look at that area, they're gonna take down
Everything.
Yeah, they have to
100
do a
trees.
clear cut, yeah.
all right? They're gonna take down 100 trees. And you think that they're gonna be able to, what, and build that, and you think they can put 50 trees in?
That's not what you'd have to be those diameter. You're not gonna
At
have
18
100
inches.
trees at 18 inches at 4.5 feet. There's not, I mean, that's.
Oh, yeah, there are.
So,
So that would mean they would have
Then it
to
would be up at
put
a
50.
discretion though at
Small.
the
And
board,
that's-
right? Cause
Yeah,
we
so that's
allow
what we would
for
put.
case by case and that's
Right.
something.
As site conditions allow.
I mean, I'm just sitting here saying, that is what is in our, is currently out there that is not gonna be good, that's gonna be done.
Don't know.
yeah.
But well, I understand we don't know if
Right.
it's gonna happen. But that's, excuse me, that's what's out there that is being planned.
I understand.
But again, so we're putting through what we think is the
The most
best case
restrictive.
scenario, yeah, for Waterville Valley, and in here, like, because we are sensitive to that as well as that's why there's a lot of caveats in here that lets the planning board have discretion, that let's look at the site plan, let's look at the individual case, okay,
Yeah.
is this gonna apply to here? So that is built in here for that reason. I mean,
Okay.
you know.
Now I'm
you
gonna
can't do
say,
a cookie cutter for everything, you know, there's gotta be
Yeah.
like, let's, you know.
I don't think this is the time or the place
Yeah.
for this kind of detailed discussion. I'd say that what you've outlined so far indicates excellent work. And we're making significant progress. But there's a number of other things on the agenda today. And that, this indicates though that this is the type of work that we're hoping that these, working group committees, will deliver for tightening our ordinances.
Just have a
So,
question, then,
yeah.
Susan, are we okay with going ahead and moving this on to legal? Knowing that then that's another month and then we can, gives people more time to kind of, you know, get into the
I
other
would
areas that we didn't
say
discuss.
If the board can review it and then singly send me your guys' input,
Okay.
then I can work everybody's notes into the document. We need one more time, make those changes, if there are any, and then send it off legal.
Okay, so can we commit then like, oh, as a group that we can get information to Liz in a week? Is that fair? And
Yeah, by
then
next Thursday.
by next
Yep.
Thursday,
Same.
and then I will cite the meeting that we're gonna, the working group can meet one more time, which, you know, we'll cite, we'll do all the fun things so that anybody that wants to join us can.
Yeah.
before, what, we meet one more time and then we can send it to legal, or do we need to come back to the planning board before?
If we're not gonna discuss it like in depth, almost, line for line, then I would say we can send it off to legal after after the working group reviews it, then we can send it off.
Okay, so then, once we get back from legal, we can come back to the board and say, this is what they said, let's set up a public hearing at that point, and then,
Depending on what they said, we may need to meet one more time as a working group
okay,
to refine things, change things, and then bring it back to the board once we get that final draft
okay,
as the planning board.
Mhm.
And then, the planning board will review it, then we'll set the public hearing.
okay.
So Thursday's our deadline. If you don't hear
Thursday,
from,
yes.
You don't
you
hear
don't hear
from,
from somebody on Thursday, you're not gonna solicit it.
Yep.
You're just gonna go with Thursday.
Yep.
If the-
On Thursday.
Get your. any
Thursday
changes
the
that might-
21st.
Yep.
Okay, because you'd be surprised at how much time disappears between now
Right,
and
but they need to move along.
the October, November, as I understand correctly. We need to be able to make our deliveries, our submissions to the select board with our recommendations to formulate this as a zoning ordinance.
Well, this is site,
This is site
site,
plan,
I don't,
right.
it doesn't need to go to the.
Site plan,
we
of
can
course.
just-
Okay, understand.
But the
But it will be
architectural
zoned.
one,
There will be.
That's what I have in mind, that zoning ordinances are sensitive to having it ready and done by the fall.
Sounds good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Excellent, thank you. Now, the working group that's been working, that has addressed architectural consistency or balance.
so we're meeting right after this, to review the first draft. So far, we've created a draft that's providing clearer standards, architectural standards, and they're aimed to regulate how the buildings perform in an environment rather than control architectural style. Because we cannot say, hey, you can't have a 30-foot blank wall just because it doesn't fit in with the character. How does it perform in the environment? So we've added regulations to strengthen the scenic and ridgeline protections, because that was a huge hot topic. And then we've also added review procedures that will hopefully provide guidance for the board to make decisions, and hopefully be clearer for the applicants as well, and easier for enforcement.
Does it, do you address color and structure?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, bright red and orange.
that's what we
No,
allow,
I
that's it.
required
From here on out.
rainbow and neon. That was my.
I want iridescent.
There's nothing wrong with.
The one
red
glow in the
and
dark.
orange wall.
So it's all dependent on that light reflective value.
Yes.
Yes.
Which automatically reduces the color scheme to not so bright. So, but like I said, we'll be reviewing it today, right after this. The working group.
Okay, any further comment? All right, so now parking. I've started. And that parking is a continuous problem because it is a constant demand for space. The current ordinances in places is contradictory and ambiguous. That there is a reason why big box stores have large parking lots in front of their stores. There are times when retail parking is heavy and the lots are full. The remainder of the time, the lots are mostly empty. So why do big box retailers maintain large lots and endure the expense? And the answer is because it's necessary for doing business. In locations where space is critically limited and at a premium, parking garage construction is often the most executed solution. So when facing an application, the planning board must have sufficient and precise enough information to make a yes or no, an approval or denial decision. Parking is a matter that requires definition. Parking is defined by a number of spaces of a specific size, dimension, and location. Parking is defined by peak demand from specific intended users. The number of spaces and their location is established by adherence to accepted parking standards such as the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which provide respected parking standards through its parking generation manual. It is widely used and estimated to estimate parking demand and planning. And experts, third-party independent experts play a role in determining parking requirements, but it should be noted that there are no completely unbiased experts. Our parking ordinance says, parking areas, whether open or enclosed, shall be provided upon the same lot that contains the use for which the parking is required. And then it goes on to say, on adjacent lots or provided such separate lots, or the right to use such separate lots for the purpose herein required, shall be held under unified ownership or control. That means the ordinance provides allowances for parking needs to be shifted to adjacent lots. However, our ordinance also says shared parking arrangements may be utilized, but it does not define what the limits of these shared arrangements are. So which is it? Parking defined by the space required on the lot where the application is situated? Or is it on adjacent lots or shared arrangements with other users on the same lots? The ambiguity is caused by insufficient definition leading to the inability to calculate the number of spaces needed and where those spaces are located. The ordinance also says by means of a schedule of off-street parking and loading requirements, a table on page 32 of the ordinance book, it defines the number of spaces each business or facility in town square requires in order to satisfy the ordinance. So then Liz performed a calculation based on the businesses currently in town square. The results are the spaces needed following the ordinance table. That calculation was 462 spaces. The spaces needed according to the ITE, International Transportation Engineers calculation, was 508 spaces. These numbers exceed the spaces available in the town square lot designated as the west side lot and comes close to the number of spaces determined as the all available in a parking study. So is it the intention of the ordinance to say that parking shall be provided in the same lot that contains the use, or that the number of parking spaces required is determined by the table in the ordinance? Or is it that shared parking may be used to satisfy all users? Shared parking is a concept that appears useful when writing an ordinance, but introduces ambiguity when the planning board seeks clarity before making a decision. When a prospective applicant says that adequate parking has been planned under the existing ordinance, it becomes impossible to define or measure definitively what adequate is, particularly when there are multiple authorized users expected to be able to park in the same spaces. I am proposing a rewrite of the parking ordinance to make it much more specific and precise so that the planning board may assess the parking demand of any new applicant as an additional demand to the defined and enumerated demand which already exists in parking spaces available. In the new ordinance will strive to make it possible for the planning board to reach a calculated and indisputable decision. And if a decision is disputed when the planning board upholds a clearly written ordinance, it becomes much more likely that the court will support the planning board's decision. I am proposing to eliminate the concept of shared parking from the ordinance and to replace it with defined parking definitions established by the ITE standard for each of the users specified as being able to use the parking spaces. So with your support, the rewrite will be undertaken by multiple inputs. That is the working group, which at the moment is Alan and me, Liz, who has
Not yet.
started. Yeah, well, we've started
Started a little bit.
and our new town manager. So there's a great deal that's got to be done. We have an ordinance that doesn't work, at least that's my view. And it should be tossed and replaced. Any comments? Mike?
I saw how much the estimated parking needed for each one of the things in Town Square was. And you totaled them all individually without any concept that someone may have that car in different locations as well.
No.
And-
Liz can address it, but we took that into
But-
account and discounted the numbers.
But the other thing it did is it based it, I think, on square footage.
That's what, yes, so the regulations,
I
Um,
understand,
our current ones are square foot.
I understand. But if you took that square footage, for example, for Jugtown. I've never seen, not that I'm there all the time, but the number that you had for cars for Jugtown.
Yep.
All right,
7.5 for Jogtown.
right? I don't think that you're gonna see 7.5, well, you're gonna pay 7 cars using Jugtown at any time.
Well, that's part of the inconsistency,
just-
part of the
No, I-
ambiguity, and part of the
the.
problem that we can't use the ordinance we have.
I understand, I understand what you're saying. I don't have an answer because I'm not that smart. But, I don't know how to do this. I mean, and the other thing is. We have a problem with our parking. 4 or 5 weekends a year.
I don't know, but Mike, I think what the chair is asking for is support, but not to talk about these details, but support, whether to go forward with completely overhauling the parking element of our zoning ordinance, and I say, have at it,
Yeah.
I'm all for it,
Absolutely.
Sure.
let's move
Go
on.
ahead.
Okay.
No, Catherine, go.
I just
Catherine?
want, no, I agree. I just wanted to, when listening to you, I want to make sure, or maybe have you clarify that you, want to use an internal capture percentage, and part of your research is gonna be discussing what that internal capture percentage should be.
Yes,
Okay,
we want to make it work,
right. So
but
there will be an.
you know, we've
internal
had
capture, which is what
experience.
You're getting to, yeah. Okay.
we've had some experience in dealing with parking problems. We know, they're out there.
Yeah.
And that, we got to figure out how to make parking assessment work.
Mhm.
Because when it's in front of the planning board, you can't take the document as it is.
It's hard when it's subjective. It really, really, yeah.
Doesn't, it, we went over and over this. And that we need, just like you're doing here, you need specifics. And then if we say yes or no, that parking is adequate or it's inadequate, that it makes sense, that has rigorous foundation. And then it will be upheld.
We want to remove as much gray
Yeah.
as we possibly can when.
And that's kind of an overall exercise
Yeah.
that the planning board is engaged we're trying to accomplish that, get rid of the gray. Yes, Ann?
So 2 parts, one more of a question, but the first being, given the work that Catherine and the team has done on the landscaping,
Yes.
and given that there is a general consensus within the town of Waterville that we like our trees.
Yes.
Hmm.
I will say that when we're looking at the analysis, if there is ways to consider, I think it would be better received if there's ways to consider, okay, sometimes it might be better to share than lose a whole nother field to paving, right? Because no one's gonna wanna see all of Waterville turned into a concrete jungle, like that's not why people live up here.
Mhm.
So that was one piece. The second question I had is there any way within this ordinance that we would have oversight on maintenance of existing parking or parking structures?
You bet.
Okay,
That'd be a code enforcement.
Code enforcement.
Okay.
But it's a rigorous part of
Cause I know a lot of this is like everything's grandfathered in unless, right? That's always been a lot of my understanding with the ordinances. So I didn't know in this particular, could there be some sort of overreach to say, you know, hey, this parking lot is in disrepair and needs to be this, or this now needs to have lines in it or something like that. Not
Yes.
just, hey, going forward, when you pave a field, this is what's required.
No yellow park.
I was
And
not targeting.
Alan.
Two things, Annie, to your point about paving the field. Giving us the backbone to be able to say no, makes them come to the table to negotiate what's gonna happen. So I
That's fair,
think that's
yeah.
part of this.
Yeah.
The second part we have to address is that 1,000-foot measurement, where it has to, we need to define where we're measuring it from. You know,
We
the
did.
front door or the edge of the parking lot.
We did that.
This past March.
I'm sorry, you're right, I forgot. Sorry, moving on.
That's
that
what
down.
happens when you're
I was
old.
like, we do that. Oh, no.
We did a
No,
little.
we have so many,
So
Rick,
just a quick comment, I agree with you, Anna, but this particular zone that I think we're all referring to is zone commercial.
Totally get
And-
that, yeah.
Whether it may be a field now, but as I look at, say, a conceptual plan, it's not gonna be a field, there's gonna be a big parking garage there.
Yep.
So I think we have to take into account what the zone actually is. When what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We could relook at the zone, it could be rezoned if that's not what we want. The town could do that, but as it stands now, it's zone commercial, and whether there are trees there. It's private property that's zoned commercial, and we can put bounds on that. But I think we just have to
Yeah.
keep that context in mind.
No, and I know, you know, with the build out and where the commercial zoning standpoints are and everything, there was part of me thinking, especially as, you know, there's been more home development, being cognizant of if there is something where we're forcing a hand, where there's maybe an alternative and that developer is willing to look at the alternative commercially to share parking, and we're willing to entertain that. I don't know that we want to force the hand and saying like, take more landscape space down to pave out. I'm not saying that would be the situation. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it, to have the allowances there might be a good thing.
Solution to that is to build
But-
garages, but
but-
people do not like
But
garages.
Mr.
Exactly,
Bill
yeah.
said he didn't like shared parking.
Yes, that
I'd
was
say
one thing I
shared
wanted.
parking introduces untenable
No,
ambiguity.
no, I just
Let them
wanted
study
to
it.
demonstrate that I was listening to Mr. Bill. All right,
I think everything that Alan and Mr. Chair are looking into is good. Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
To-
want
to-
to reiterate.
Alan started the discussion, and I'll try to amplify it a little bit more. There's several fundamental ideas here. And one is that if you don't want land used for a specific purpose, then buy it.
Yep.
So now that it's owned by somebody else and it's their prerogative to use it as they see fit, you know, when the Waterville Company put this land up for sale, if people didn't want it used in a specific way, they should have stepped up and purchased the land
Well,
themselves.
some people did,
Some people
Yes,
did.
some did.
they bought
Yeah.
lots next to their house
Yep.
to prevent any development on their.
Yeah.
lot.
Okay, people
do
don't
that.
like to hear that,
Yeah.
but that's a fundamental step.
Mhm.
You don't want it used for that purpose, buy it.
Well-
Secondly, if you don't want this type of thing to occur, that is the forces that are pressing on this lead to the discussion that when the planning board would have the right to say, or have the power within the ordinance to say yes or no, and that it's clear and it's understood and there are no ambiguities, then the applicant can say that maybe I don't want to build this here. You know, then I don't want to make this proposal. And if you do make the proposal, then you're going to have to figure out how to accommodate the parking needs. That is, in just about every other ordinance that I've been able to uncover so far, this process of the parking that is required is needed to be supplied by the land that is defined within the application. That is, your application boundaries are like this, the parking has to be in there. And if it's not in there, maybe you shouldn't build here.
Well, Bill, I have to push back on that a little bit because this board 2 or 3 years ago intentionally changed it to include parking in adjacent lots or lots under.
I understand.
unitary, to allow
Shared car.
for, well.
For off-site.
For off-site
Yeah.
parking for development. So we did it to ourselves.
I get it.
But again, I'd say, have at it, please.
Mhm.
And for
And
this,
let's move.
yeah, for the special event parking, and like the 4 or 5 days, we were also talking about for special events. If there's going to be an overabundance of parking needed to require whoever's hosting it to coordinate off-site parking. Either at the school, Golden Eagle or elsewhere and provide transportation or shuttle
Yeah,
too.
well, we have a permit for that and they'll have to work with code enforcement.
Okay.
So what happens on 4th of July?
We get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right, so what's the
The one
plan?
part-
That's
the
the
one
town's
part
job to coordinate that, and when people are parking on our lawns, it's not great, so what happens? And you guys are gonna write
Okay.
tickets for like 30 cars?
If they're illegally parked. But I think on July 4th, we do suspend on-street parking.
Parking.
Okay.
Okay, it's
So,
just
okay, hang on. So you guys don't want on-street parking as a rule for the select board. You guys have made that very clear.
For the
But-
town have.
Correct, so all of a sudden, when something big happens, you guys suspend it.
Yes,
But that goes exactly against what you guys are saying. You don't want that to happen, but you allow it to happen.
for that special event, yes.
That's insane.
Well,
The other, I mean, you could do something like using the shuttle buses back from the ski resort parking area,
Right.
for example.
Yeah.
There are lots of things that could be done.
yeah.
Not my job to
Anybody
figure it out, though.
who wants to be shuttled up to the ski resort and then back down. If that's a viable solution, you know.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either, but I'm just proposing that's a personal opinion and I'm not here to deliver personal opinions. I'm here to say that we've got an ordinance that doesn't work. And we're gonna try to fix it, and I'm asking for your
you have my
nod,
support.
nod of approval to say, like, we're gonna go ahead and.
Go for it.
That is, the work that we've done is to try to work with the ordinance
Go for it.
that's in the books. Our assessment is it's no good, we're gonna fix it.
Go.
Sounds good.
Okay, time to move on.
Thank you, Bill. and
Homes.
Okay, committee reports.
Oh.
Okay, wait a minute now, that's code enforcement updates.
Well, what are we
Wait.
doing tiny houses or the other thing?
You're right. You're right, we gotta do tiny houses.
Why?
Because tiny homes are currently regulated on a local level, but that may be coming to an end. So we're keeping an eye on HB, House Bill 1681, because it may change the current regulations. As of right now, it leaves the choice up to municipalities. However, there is some debate, there's serious debate going on in the legislature about changing this language, which might require municipalities to allow tiny homes as permanent residents as long as they are permanently secured, not on wheels, and connected to town services. That your understanding, town manager?
It is, it's moving through the House currently with a lot of support.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
And yours.
It backs up the
And yours,
ADUs,
yes.
so.
And
Backs up, sorry?
So it says, it's just like a few sentences. This bill establishes standards for innovative housing structures such as tiny houses on wheels, and yurts, allowing their use as single-family or accessory dwellings, setting inspection and permitting requirements, authorizing municipal property tax assessments, regulating transport, and permitting gray water disposal systems.
And all of those are also regulated by the International Building Code, all. So
Contrary to where we are today.
So if this bill passes,
It will
there's nothing for us to
proceed.
do.
It is, well, we'd have to change our zoning to
you
allow
have to
it.
change your
To
zone
allow it.
But with that, you can control some of it, setbacks and things like that, but outside of that.
Yeah.
Can't prohibit a tiny
And there,
home.
so the very first sentence of the House bill says may, and the Senate is saying that they're gonna switch that out to shall as one of their amendments. So they would force it up on municipalities
That's right.
rather than, you could adopt this innovative housing regulation, but they're debating right now.
Yeah.
They wanna switch that up.
It'd
to
just be
4.
like tax ADUs, we'll just
Yeah.
have to
Exactly.
change,
Yep.
no choice.
And they're defining tiny homes as what? 250?
Under 400 square feet, and on a chassis. They do not say, anything about the wheels being removed or not. They just say a chassis. A permanent frame.
Okay, I intended it to be something different, but right now, all I can say is this is a point of information.
Right.
And there's nothing more I can say about it.
Okay.
Anybody else have a comment?
Yuck.
Yep,
Yuck.
yuck.
I
Ugh,
thought that was,
it's good enough. How to be a good board manager?
wait a minute. On code enforcement, I have a question. Before you
Yes.
go that way.
We haven't
We haven't gotten there yet.
That's the next one.
I'm sorry, never.
No, all I wanted to do was to say that, hopefully some of you, watched the OPD seminar about planning board and all those things that need to be done.
Yeah, being a member.
Oh,
We do it
well,
every year. I've watched some.
yes,
It's
Okay.
recorded too.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's recorded as.
and there was one. And it's similar to, that is, I just want to beat on this again. How to be a good board member. Do your homework. Be fair and unbiased. Attend to the meetings. Be on time, Work with the staff on learning the ordinances. Cooperate with other boards and be respectful to fellow members and the public. So we're on track. Code enforcement updates. It's your turn, Jim.
I'm here. Did you have specific questions or were you looking for?
I do.
I do.
Okay, no. Okay, Mike got his hand up first.
Let John go first.
Go.
I always bow to John.
John, you're on.
Oh.
Floor to you.
So my first question is, when building a new home in the valley, a perk test required in the Waterville Valley?
We're sewer.
Excuse me?
We're sewer.
Only if
Only
there's
if there, there are some that have.
Only if it's gonna be,
municipal water and sewer.
So if you're gonna hook up to the sewer, you don't need to know whether or not you can have a septic
If
system.
you're outside of a sewer area.
right,
Yes.
Okay, okay, now, here's a couple of that enforcing, Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
that we're trying to really work on hard, and I'm wondering why they haven't been enforced. Dark skies, there's a violation going on right now with a light strapped to a railing on a hotel that I know you know about, but it hasn't been taken care of.
Going there,
Help me understand
going
why.
there in 2 weeks. That's part of their life safety. I've addressed that with them.
which hotel?
And enforcement is slow.
Enforcement is slow.
It's been like a couple of months at least.
Yeah.
So
Which
at
hotel
first
is
you
that?
have to notify them verbally, then you have to notify them written. Then you can, after like 30 to 60 days, I don't remember off the top of my head how many days it is. But 30 to 60 days, then you can send the notice of violation. From that point, if the violation isn't fixed, then you send it to the attorney, that's another
Yeah,
30 days. They then send their own notice saying,
yeah,
you're gonna go to the court if it's not fixed by this date,
which is.
then if they
usually
don't-
Another 60 days.
another 60 days, then it is
It's
a
a,
painstakingly slow process. And that's why we try to make the regulations as tight as we can right off the bat, so that it's easier and quicker for enforcement afterwards, but hopefully avoiding any enforcement necessary.
Okay,
So.
Which hotel is that
It is
now?
painfully slow.
You can't probably say.
Oh, you
No,
can't say.
could I say something? I don't
Rich.
think this is a planning board.
I haven't
this is
kind
a
of,
function of. slow.
yes, it is.
This is a select board issue. You need to bring these issues to select board, John. This is code
No.
enforcement.
I put
Planning
it,
board,
No, this is action plan, what I'm discussing, why the action hasn't been performed.
no,
Now I
that's
just got
not a
the answer.
condition. I understood. Oh, maybe we're just seeing it differently. the code enforcement update was to look at conditions that are outstanding for applications that have been approved, not to look at, enforcement violations
Specific violation.
in specific violations. We need to bring it to the select board. That's the action, that body. I'm not saying don't bring it, I'm just saying come to the
Not
next
here.
select board meeting next Wednesday and stop pounding on our table saying, why aren't you doing these things?
Okay, this item is on the agenda because the planning board has attached conditions to approvals of projects that have come before the board previously.
Understood.
And that the only reason I put it on the board, because Rich is right, that this business of enforcement is select board, not planning board. But it was the planning board that did this. The planning board put the conditions on. And because, I want to see that it's my view, and I think the board supports this view, that I want to see code enforcement stepped up. And that if we do our job correctly as planning board members, we will do everything that we can to avoid conditions. That is, the purpose of planning is to get everything done in advance so that conditions are not needed. We don't want to say in the future that, okay, we'll, approve your project, and then we'll see what happens. In a year or two, we'll go back and have a look and see if everything is okay. That's not the idea. The idea is to get it right the first time.
My issue, my question is, and you and I have talked about this, is the villas were granted their parking strip for guest parking. It even says guest parking right on it, which they don't do, because that's beside the point. They were supposed to have fencing of birches so that the cars could not be seen.
Correct.
Correct.
That was a condition of the planning. board.
Right.
Yes.
That is not the case.
And it's also, when we looked back at those conditions, there is not a height requirement that was called out in those conditions.
So we screwed
There
up.
was no timeline, yeah.
Now, granted, plowing did take out a couple of those bushes in
Sure.
there. And we have spoken to the contractor who's finishing up a couple items of those being replaced. But now we're gonna have to wait for the growing seasons to allow it. There was no, this has to be done within one growing season or two growing seasons, like you've looked at in the landscaping proposed.
We screwed up.
No,
Well,
You can say that to me.
Put another way,
He didn't
There was no
specify.
height.
You
called
just
out.
weren't
Right, that's
specific
fine.
It wasn't, yes,
Yeah.
it wasn't just
It
crystal
wasn't
clear, I was
specific
saying,
enough.
it needs to block the
So
cars within.
when I
that
look
growing
at
season.
it, it says there must be screening here. And the landscaping plan marches through, and I go and do an inspection over there, there's a plant. Where it shows on the landscaping plan, and I know that it's a small rhododendron that's this big right now. But in 2 years, we know that that thing's gonna be big. So.
experience is the best teacher.
Alright. The other question that I have, and probably the easiest thing to do is going over and talk to Craig. Is that part of the thing that Craig did in his garage area where he built the ice cream
Pickleball court.
thing? What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pickleball
yeah.
ice cream.
Pickleball ice
Alright.
cream, yeah.
He also built a restroom back there, which has a light over it.
Mhm.
That light I can see clearly. From, huh?
The select board. is-
So that would be a dark
Alright.
sky complaint, so.
Alright, so I'll go and write a little thing and next time you walk
Just-
by.
Next
Photo.
time. Our meeting is
Photos.
next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Just
Photos. Photos always help.
send an email with a photo.
You know what, I'm sure you've seen it,
So, pass that along and then that will come to
but
us.
you've seen it.
Okay, proper question for a golf course. With respect to the pickleball court. Did the pickleball court substantially satisfy the conditions that were applied by the planning board with respect to the fence? That is, the fence was supposed to be that if there was a verbal commitment, and I kind of know what you're gonna say, to build an 8-foot wall, but there are 8-foot walls on 3 sides. Well, there are 8-foot walls on 2 sides, but not the third side. Third side is a decorative approach to the situation. Does that comply with the conditions that actually exist.
But-
You reviewed this last. week.
Yeah, I can
Determined
answer
that
the
it
question
did.
if you don't mind, Jim.
Take it more.
It's in findings of fact.
Yes,
It's
Yeah.
not a condition.
It's not a
Yeah.
condition, it
So
was,
it is in
it
compliance.
was something he said he would do.
Mhm.
Which he didn't do, but there's nothing you can do about
So
it. Did I say that appropriately?
You
I
did.
said it was
Because it
an
was-
intention.
I'll restate my, that experience is the best teacher,
Yeah.
that we will not fall into this pit again.
Exactly.
Okay, is there anything else that can be done about that?
Nothing.
There was a discussion about the use of pickleballs and pickleball bats that are sound suppressant in nature. Is there anything that code of, no,
Also in finding of fact.
Findings of
Finding of
fact.
fact. Finding of fact is something like ordinances. That unless it is stated in the ordinance, and unless it's clear in the ordinance, it's next to useless.
Well, it has to be a condition.
Maybe-
No, 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 what I'm talking about is
Fingers crossed.
the manner in which we approach future applications. And unless it's very specific and unless it's in the ordinance, it doesn't, if it's in the master plan. It's
Master
of,
plan is useless.
it's of no particular use, and you cannot take a master plan to a courtroom and say that it is here in the master plan and the judge will laugh at you. It's gotta be in the ordinance, it's gotta be passed by voters, and it has to be clear and distinct.
Correct.
Alan.
I'll wait for Mike.
Hang
I'd
in
like
there,
to,
Mike.
I have something, I guess, to propose. I'd like to add to the site plan applications. Just a sentence on the bottom. If there's an error of commission or omission of fact. The select board can penalize. And up to and including revocation of the approved permit.
Can you read it again?
I'd add to the site plan application, if there is an error of omission or commission of fact. In the application, the select board can penalize up to and including revocation of the approved permit.
That would have to be a change to our site plan regulation.
He just
Yeah, that's what
proposed
he's
that.
proposing.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, talk about it.
I mean, you know,
And that's what I'm
Uh,
clarifying.
Yeah,
Yes, I hear it.
Say,
I
Let's look
think
it up.
it would have to go back with the planning board to revoke, but
you told me it was enforcement. So that's why I put select board. But anyhow, it's the concept that how we do it.
if you're doing something on purpose,
Yeah,
leaving something out.
Well, even, I mean, can we speak specifics?
Yes,
When we saw the the parking study, they totally omitted. Telling people to park in town square and use the shuttle to go to the ski mountain. That's an omission. And that's Tyrell omitting their own, recommendation. And there were other parking things that were omitted or committed. And there was no recourse after the fact. This to me is, we found an error in your application after we approved it. We want the select board to go back and be able to rectify it, including revocation of the permit.
is there any comment
like a
from,
legal issue.
yeah, it sounds,
Sounds like a-
okay, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I'm looking at Ed and asking, what would you do with that?
Yeah, I would send it to council for review before you try to put it into your.
Yeah.
regulations.
I think we need discussion
Six
on
three
this.
six four A is the revocation.
Say that again?
676(4)A is the revocation of a recorded approval.
Thank you.
But I don't know all the ins and outs of it.
What are we trying to revoke?
Any approved permit, if we find out after.
I understand the verbiage, but you have a specific thing that you want to do.
We can't do anything retroactive.
If something is omitted.
If somebody comes in with a new application and they forget to say, oh, by the way, there's a uranium mine under my house, whatever, I can't make something up. But if they mislead us by
But,
not including all the facts we need.
but is that, what if we find out about it 90 days after we grant it?
And
That's what this applies to.
Yeah.
stop building.
That's his
right now,
question.
Or you don't get an occupancy permit, you don't get a use permit.
So then what happens if, I guess, listen, yes,
isn't that
I would like
code
to explore it legal. I've got
It
a
is
million what ifs.
Yeah,
Or it's select board enforcement.
right.
But
I'm just
I guess-
thinking you
so
got
what I
somebody
guess
who's
I'm
building the
asking is,
foundation
Do
and
you
then all of
wanna
a sudden
send
there's
this to
nothing.
legal? And that's where we're coming down.
I'd say the answer to that is yes.
Potentially, do we agree to send it to legal and see what they come back with?
Liz, what's that, 674?
6764A.
I have such fun reading these
Isn't that,
RSAs. RSAs are such interesting
I thought
reading.
that's kind of a given.
No,
No.
Okay, if it's given, then let's have it down on paper.
I don't have a problem.
Well,
putting it on
if it's a
paper, but-
given, then why not use it?
Well, I'd like to use it.
It's not mandatory, it's,
Yeah.
the select board has discretion. Or enforcement has discretion.
Well, look, if it's an RSA, then it can be utilized and it'll be supported.
No, let's stop discussing, in my
Yes.
opinion, move on, but let's agree to send it to council.
Good, done.
So, okay, so that's, you don't have to vote on it, right? We can just.
No, that's not a question.
Yeah, just
No, just,
consensus, let's move
I keep
forward.
looking at, now that, we have a town manager.
Mhm.
And that, I think that's a matter that you would take up with council.
Correct.
Good, moving on.
Well, Adventure Zone,
So,
Yes,
Ed's gonna do that.
Mr. Chair,
yes,
is there, I may have glazed over it, reading through everything. Is there currently anything in any of the ordinances that speak to, related to trash, not a dumpster for the facility itself, but it, like the public waste bins that you see around towns and stuff
Those
to
are
drop
select
stuff in?
board regulations and ordinances.
So it does already exist, it's just in the select board, right?
Yeah, there's a dumpster ordinance, if that's what
Okay.
you're asking about.
More so like the little, I wasn't sure if it falls to a town obligation or a commercial obligation to provide the waste bins that, as you're walking down the street,
mean,
there's like the little waste
There is
bin there.
nothing, I don't think there's anything,
Okay,
that's not regulated at all.
okay. Something had just come up amongst a few different people in town
Yeah,
that
there
I was
have been,
curious as to where it would land.
yeah, I mean,
So-
the history of what you're asking for, is that, the town has been very reluctant, previous town manager and town staff to get saddled with another responsibility of having to go around
That's fair.
town and
Plus with
empty
bears
trash
and,
cans.
like, I
And
totally
the
get
bears
it,
and all
yeah.
that. So we've
Yeah.
never pursued it,
I'm just curious, thank you, Rich.
unless the town wants us to pursue it, then.
Can we
Catherine?
just, can we just get an update on the outdoor adventure zone, like where we stand?
yes,
what's
that's
going on?
next on the agenda.
They have started the clearing over there, which you've all seen. They're starting the process of stumping. They fenced the site off. The performance bond has been submitted. We've gone back and forth a few different times for some clarification and some language in there to meet those conditions. We've been working with the resort pretty openly on that. They have their plans submitted for their foundation and their grading. They haven't started that aspect of it yet, and that's gonna be coming up in the next few weeks. They do have a pretty good schedule put in place in terms of the construction management. And we're working pretty much weekly basis with back and forth email wise, and they've been pretty receptive on different conditions that we've been needing, or I'll pull in and see something and shoot a message to their management, and they've been open to addressing it.
Okay, is that schedule available? Is this a public document?
They haven't made it public. Since the
Can
The
they do,
construction schedule typically isn't a public document. It's usually shared with the code enforcement office, the building
Okay.
officials.
They have been posting updates though with updated documents to the link where they have all their stuff, cause I've been seeing the stuff pop up as they're sharing it with the public. I forget
Typically,
what that
if
link
the
is.
plans are
Liz.
available, you can typically find it, first or second page of the title sheet.
Yeah,
Up there.
that's where they're like adding stuff in, is wherever all those are set, yeah.
Yeah, they have a rough idea of the construction sequence on like page 8, I think it was, in
Yeah.
the site plan.
okay, is the performance bond, is that available? Does anybody wants to see it? Can that be viewed?
It's in legal right now. We have, there's one caveat that we're trying to get them to meet. It has to do with the bond won't be released until until they've satisfied all the requirements, and they won't receive a CO, certificate of occupancy, until that time. So,
Okay,
But that's something that's the select, I mean, the planning board should be able to see, because that's their condition.
sure, yeah.
Planning
okay,
board, you
that's
can
my
ask
question,
about
and then
that.
at times, you know,
It's not complete yet, but we'll be happy to share it with you.
good, is the value of the bond, is that known?
James said it at the last
At the
meeting,
last meeting.
well, 100,000, 200,000?
Yeah, I think it was
something
200,000.
200,
Yeah,
something like
Find
that.
in my-
wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah.
For
It's-
this project.
Well, so for the performance bond, it is only for the aspects of the project that would be unsafe if not completed.
Right.
So it's not to complete the entire overall project, it's just to make sure that the site is safe if not completed.
It was essentially to satisfy the requirements of safety for the site work.
Mhm.
Right, understood. I just want to know that you know, I get the impression right away. You watch this and you're on top of it. That's good. That's what I want to know.
My office also got a question yesterday about the fence blocking the Pond Trail.
Yes,
And that's only during the verbal response that we've gotten so far. We're waiting for written. Is that the fence will be removed once the tree clearing is complete. And they'll remove it back to the other side of the trail. They just didn't want anybody walking by while trees were being
Well,
felled.
they're dropping trees, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So,
okay. There was speaking of trees, there was a condition that the trees that were going to be preserved would be documented.
Yeah, we had gone over and taken photos throughout that area. So we have those in our software system.
Good. Okay, that's wait. Our best wishes to those trees.
Yeah, good luck.
Well, look, you know,
They're good.
the condition is the condition, and all I'm asking code enforcement is to ensure that that condition is met. Anything else to be said about the adventure zone? Is there, are there any, say, conditions, requirements regarding that fence? I mean, I understand that the fence is to,
That's
well,
keep public,
keep public out,
keep the work site safe.
okay?
'Cause they're gonna
Which
have,
we required.
yeah,
Any other comments about the adventure zone?
Next up.
Yes, all right, it's nearly, it is 11 o'clock. But look, we paid good money for the SE group to come in here and give us recommendations. And I wanted to not forget about that and say that we should pay attention to what this organization has a background of recommending engineering and development to resort towns, in particular ski resorts. So we asked them to assess, in particular, our ordinances and to give us ideas on how well we conform to those say recommendations and conditions that apply to resort towns. How do we measure up? And I think I gave everybody a copy, and look, we don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but to say, and this, that it'll come up again, I'll keep it on the agenda. But recognition of recreation and mixed character, resort-specific flexibility in minor site plans. I don't know, we could spend, the next hour on this.
Why don't you make it an agenda?
I'm gonna put it on the agenda, but there was one in here that I know was particular interest.
A lot of these are going to be addressed in just the updates that we're doing to the architectural regulations.
Yes,
And the landscaping regulations.
precisely.
And
That's what I remember seeing.
I can have a list. I think I put it in the plan book. I just listed that a while ago, so I will just update that. And I will resend it out.
On the dark sky piece, just quick, because John, I know you've
you had brought that up, not the last meeting, but the meeting prior to that. And chief over here mentioned that it can be hard to enforce certain things. Do we need to look at that ordinance as well for creating more clarity so that it is easier for the select board and our towns people to be able to
It was
enforce
a
it?
working group that
It was,
looked at it,
okay.
came up with some recommendations a couple years ago.
But then kind of.
There was nothing that can be done unless we wanted to spend a lot of money.
Oh, I
Okay.
created
That's
a
you.
flyer, a dark sky compliant flyer. I sent it to code enforcement just to help. And then that can also be handed out to whoever's going to be
Like built.
putting in.
They want it.
The issue isn't going forward,
Okay.
isn't with current or future development, it's development that's already occurred.
That's
and
already happened,
grandfathered,
yeah.
And their grandfather.
No, and that's totally fair. I was more just wondering if, you know, but now, given the background and the fact that there's like a substantial financial investment understood, I was just looking to see
Yeah.
if more clarity was needed on that.
As I understood it, the bottom line was that those that were grandfathered and really in violation of dark
Yeah.
sky, but not really because they grandfathered, said they'd be happy to become compliant if the town would pay for.
For their
for-
compliance.
For the change out.
Now, going forward, is the dark sky ordinance where we all want it though? Where we need it to be as a town to avoid any future violations?
I think we do apply it as part of the site application process.
Okay, so as written, not so much
As-
enforcement, but as
The rule-
written, we're
The
comfortable
rule
with
did look
that.
at that.
Yeah.
That was not- that was not an issue.
I also think that if there's somebody installed a light on their garage and a floodlight and it's shining on your property, if you make a call,
Yeah,
well, you can go through the select board, but I'm saying if you make a call to the enforcement, I think they will follow up on that.
no, and I'm not so much
However-
worried about the enforcement side. I just didn't know if there was any clarity needed on our part where we could help the select board and the enforcement side
There
of it.
was, but there.
Okay,
No, yeah, and the SE group said that it's fine. It's just at this point,
yeah,
the grandfather thing.
The grandfather.
yep,
Yeah,
fair.
Doesn't mean it's forever. If they make a change, a substantial change.
Then we can address it at that time.
Then,
Yeah.
then they would be subject to, but monitoring that is very difficult.
and you know, then, well, always, in many things, money is the issue. If you go to somebody who was grandfathered and said, I don't like what's there, he said, okay, well, maybe we could be accommodating to you, but you pay for it at the changes.
Right.
So in order to make that happen, Madam Secretary, in order to make that happen, we have to then spend our time raising money
Yeah,
and
Yep.
maybe talk to the select board, squeeze it out of them.
Yeah, you did.
But, you know, something like that has to be done if we want to ameliorate, change, fix those circumstances of dark sky. Dark sky ordinances that not being met. All right,
Next.
it'll, SE group will reappear. Committee reports, select board.
Nothing planning board related that I can think of, top of my head.
is Dan just not here because he can't be here and you're stepping in, or are you
Yes.
back? Okay.
Yes. Yes. You'll be rid of me after this,
No, not what I meant.
at least the planning board. To decide to get rid of me
No.
No.
permanently.
And then you can join us permanently.
Yeah.
You
no.
know, I have those notions from time to time as well. Please get rid of me. Yes, that's just a good example of he's been submitted as the alternate to take Dan's position because he's in Poland. Having a
Right.
good, he's having a good time in Poland.
Oh, that's awesome. Fun trip.
Well, they have, that's what Barbara's from.
Yes, of course,
They're
but
actually in Hungary today, but that's.
Yeah.
okay, having schnitzel.
Concom.
Yeah.
Conservation Commission.
Okay, so really don't have much more to report other than we're having a meeting next Thursday. Trying to have them every third Thursday of the month. That's all I have.
Okay, but for your Snowsbrook mediation, you got your money and
It's all planned
all
set up.
plans
this time.
set up, and this time it's gonna
Signatures.
happen.
Rick Vanderpool is planning on coming in towards the end of the summer. Wish we could get in there now, but that's his
Yeah.
plan.
Understood.
That's it.
Okay. CIP, we've already discussed that.
Mhm.
Correspondence, nobody's here to say anything about correspondence. That's fine. Calendar, when's the next meeting? June,
Second Thursday.
second Thursday of the
June
month
11th.
of June. 11? Okay, June 11, 8:30. At least fun and games here again today,
June 11.
at that time.
Yep.
Um,
I
move we
Nobody come?
end the meeting.
Madam Secretary, do you have a motion?
Should we end the meeting? I forget how to say it.
I second it.
Okay, Madam Secretary, you'll get away with that this time. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Adjourn. There we go.
All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
I.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
We did address it.
By the way, thank you again to all of you people who are volunteers.
I know, I was thinking about that. It's like,
Then it has.
we can do it and they can be over there too.
Madam Secretary?
Unless it's.
Yeah, Liz sent it to me too.
Yes.
Oh, Liz? Hello, Liz, can you shut this off?
Yeah, she said like people watching it can see it.
Yeah.
But with me, yeah. I was wondering what, so I was like, test.